That day still haunted Lee's sight like a nightmare. He remembered everything: the acid in their hands, the cold iron bars, the stench of the lowest level of the Imperial prison. He and a few classmates had carried out the job with shaking hands, but hearts filled with reckless fire. They poured the corrosive mixture onto the reinforced cells, cells made not just of metal, but of rare arcane alloys. And yet, the acid was so potent, even those enchanted bars crumbled. They cracked open the worst cages. Lee's side had freed monsters. He didn't speak the local dialect then, but body language was universal. A slap on the back, a fist to the chest, a nod of respect. That was all it took. And some of those monsters, he still remembered their faces. One of them, the one they were just talking about in the casino, had been recaptured. Hun Jianglong, they called him now. The old power of the old power, a legend of the Golden Waters. A true killer, a dragon in chains. Li Sight leaned back and exhaled. He knew this East China Sea game wasn't the end. BlackSail might be notorious now, but Long Yang would be his, and this world would kneel. He needed more. More men. More monsters. More legends. What kind of man was Fun, BlackSail's first mate? The military genius of this generation. A battlefield general like the ancient war god Han Xin. With 1,000 men, he'd take a kingdom. With 10,000, he'd build an empire. The world had been suffering under Yalin's grip for too long. When the time came, Li Sight would bring his sword to Luo, declare his terms, and be welcomed like a king. No, like an emperor. Emperor Li Sight. He grinned at the thought. Damn, that sounds too fucking cool. Xiadi glanced at him, confused. Li Sight's face had twisted into something between a grin and a grimace. He didn't know what Li Sight was thinking, but it looked dangerous. Li Sight's mind was racing. He needed to get the old power out. He'd need time, resources to rebuild his crew, reshape his reputation, and rise. Tianguo Port was a nest of giants. The top dogs there didn't share. They owned the stolen goods network. If you weren't dealing through them, you weren't dealing at all. Try to sell your haul elsewhere, they'd kill your buyer. Try to go solo, they'd starve you out. Politics was just another kind of war, and war was always about profit. Whoever held the gold, held the sword. Right now, Li Sight didn't have the strength to challenge them. Not yet. He'd realized something years ago. Most of those success courses and mastermind guides were garbage. Wisdom was nice, but not enough. It came down to cost. How many times can you fail without dying? You only needed to win once. It was like playing StarCraft with 10 mines and 50 workers. If you knew the build order, you could beat the Emperor of Broken Hands. Start the game with a god-tier loadout. You're untouchable. Start with nothing. You hustle. It was the Matthew effect. Those with power gathered more. Those without lost even what little they had. Since he couldn't go ashore and join the cozy bureaucratic life, there was only one way forward. Dive into the dark. BlackSail was a violent, infamous pirate crew. But now they needed something more. Credibility. Nobody did business with backstabbers. Take Morrison, for example. Great killer, terrible for trade. You hand him the goods, he stabs you instead. Who wants that? Li Sight understood. Loners never built empires. Platforms did. A solo adventurer would never rival a guild. A warlord would never match an emperor. He'd carried flags, started fights, and staked claims for years. But now it was time to build something bigger. A network. A system. A kingdom. BlackSail didn't need brute strength. They needed a name. A veteran. A legend to prop up their image and give them political weight. Someone like Hun Jianglong. No need for him to fight. Just sit on an island throne like a mascot and bless the new era. Tianguo Port was ruled by 3 major factions, each with muscle, money, and old blood. But Li Sight had an angle, a connection to the daughter of one of those powers. That was the in. I have to save my brother who lived and died with me. Li Sight slapped his thigh. The dragon and I were one. With him, I make gold. With gold, I become a dragon. In a corner, gamblers were starting to whisper. A few recognized him. Whispers turned to murmurs. Someone checked the bounty lists. Captain Li Sight of the BlackSail Pirates. A man ran to inform the casino manager. Inside the manager's office, panic. Casinos had seen many shady types, but Tianhua Port was different. This wasn't your average scoundrel city. It was a hornet's nest of elite criminals. Ruthless pirates, black ops mercenaries, exiled royals. These weren't thugs. These were monsters. The kind of people that made aliens deter. The manager scrambled, calling for hospitality. Lost money? Payback. Offended? Apologize. Small gifts? Prepare them. Gold, tobacco, tea. Lisite was leaning over the roulette table, grinning wide and mad. A voice behind him. Captain, our manager would like to have a word with you. Lisite turned, annoyed. Can't you see I'm in the zone? The poor runner almost cried. He leaned in and whispered the truth. The manager wanted to apologize profusely. Lisite raised an eyebrow. He and Xiadi followed the kid. In the manager's suite, they made themselves at home. Lisite kicked back in a chair. Xiadi sprawled across the table, toying with knickknacks. What did you do? Lisite asked, half joking. The manager appeared, sweating bullets. You passed through our store and didn't get the welcome you deserved. My deepest apologies. I prepared a few gifts. Please accept them. Out came 10 golden dragons, premium tea, and expensive tobacco in silk-lined gift boxes. Lisite glanced at the haul, unimpressed. You scared we'll skip out on the bill? What do you take us for? Xiadi blinked. You're turning down free gold? The manager panicked. He signaled, and a beautiful Isu woman entered, holding the gift boxes. She's yours if you'd like. She'll serve you from now on. Lisite looked at her, sighed. Bring a woman onto a pirate ship? Were we romantic poets? He was already thinking about the old power. There was a war to plan. Xiadi stared, exasperated. No gold, no girl, what do you want? Lisite stood, grinning from ear to ear. I'm going to give BlackSail some legs. The manager and Xiadi looked at each other. What legs? The legs of a legendary hero with soft bones and a soft heart, Lisite said, already walking out the door. Time to find the local boss. Time to ask about Han Jianglong. He had his first long-term play now, and it started here, a new Tianhua port. Between the southern continent and the western continent lies a jagged, inverted T-shaped stretch of sea, tearing through the western lands like a blade through cloth. The locals call it the Narrow Sea. Though narrower than the Atlantic, its expanse eclipses the Pacific in trade flow. It is a golden artery of commerce, a thriving crucible of wealth and power. 17 years ago, it was also the domain of one man, Han Jianglong. He reigned at the height of his infamy, leading a fleet of sailing battleships bold enough to raid even royal treasure convoys. His name was etched in sea charts and whispered in fear from port to port. But he was the bird who flew too high and got shot first. Eventually captured and imprisoned in the northern prison, he rotted there for 7 long years. When he escaped during the infamous prison riot, the world had already changed. The old sea was gone, but Han Jianglong still had one thing left, his name. And in this world, a name could open doors. He drifted through ports and taverns, where old friends served him drinks out of memory and fear. But as time passed, those friends died off, their replacements showing no loyalty to ghosts of the past. Still, he refused to fade. Han hijacked a merchant ship, one last grab at the spotlight. But age had caught up to him. He wasn't the blade-wielding nightmare he once was. Admiral Kelsuna's warship blew his escape to splinters. Han was captured, beaten, and awaiting extradition to Aaron. The manager at the casino told Lisite all of this. Everything he knew laid bare. Lisite rubbed his chin, already seeing the angles. Han Jianglong had lost his youth, his strength, but not his value. He was a name, a legacy, a symbol. The southern continent's extradition treaties were mostly ceremonial. With enough gold and the right contacts, the old man could be bought. And Lisite had both. We're going to see the admiral, Lisite said, turning to Xiadi. The manager still tried to press a gift into his hands. Lisite waved it off but pocketed the gold. Just the money. Keep your tea and tobacco. We're leaving. An hour later, office of Admiral Kelsuna. The admiral's office was typical for a man of his stature. Wide and sparse, with a few lazy brushstroke paintings on the walls and a bookshelf that screamed educated. A massive desk took up the center. Everything else was for show. And the Admiral himself? He was uneasy the moment Lee's sight walked in. 3 years ago, he made a deal with the devil. BlackSail's rise had begun with that deal. Back then, Lee's sight had gone after a gang running hallucinogens from Port Paradise to the mainland. They were sloppy, but rich. Lee's sight thought the drug trade beneath him. BlackSail was supposed to be elegant, but that didn't stop him from exploiting it. He staged a crackdown, seizing the drugs, torching the stash, and even cutting a deal with a rival faction to legitimize the operation. The result? The Admiral gained a reputation as a fierce anti-drug crusader. Crime rates dropped, his standing rose, and Lee's sight took the money and the credit. Everyone won. Sort of. But now the Admiral owed him. And Lee's sight never forgot a favor. "Bless me, Lord Admiral," Lee's sight greeted, grinning with the smugness of a man who knew the rules and ignored them anyway. "You can dock here for a week. That's it," the Admiral snapped. "Nothing beyond that. Don't test me." Siadi wandered over to the Admiral's model sailboat. Fidgeting, the mast snapped off with a soft crack. He winced and began trying to fix it. The Admiral's expression soured even further. "I heard you caught someone," Lee's sight said, slumping into a chair and lighting a cigarette. "I want him." The Admiral narrowed his eyes. "Who?" Lee's sight leaned forward. "Han Jianglong." The air in the room shifted. "I'm extraditing him to the Cross Alliance," the Admiral replied coldly. End of story. Lee's sight chuckled. "Oh, come on. The Cross Alliance is just your excuse to clean house on the southern continent. Don't forget who helped you into that chair, Admiral. You're a hero now, sure, but I've got the ship logs, the wreck locations, the records. You've got nothing." He stood as if to leave. "I'll let words slip. Imagine the headlines. Admiral colludes with pirates. Not great for your legacy, is it?" The Admiral's jaw tightened. "Sit down." Lee's sight dropped back into the chair, smug. "See? Now we're speaking the same language." He knew what this was. Han Jianglong was worth money. The Alliance would pay handsomely for his return. "Fine," the Admiral growled. 500 golden dragons." Lee's sight scoffed. "He's old. Barely stands. 17 years ago, maybe. I'll give you 66. For luck." 60 SI, what does that even mean? "Forget it. I'm out." "Wait." The Admiral was breaking. Sweat gathered on his brow. The humiliation burned hotter than the gold. "I'll give you 5 minutes," he growled, defeated. "Hey, take him, before I change my mind." Lee's sight smirked. "See? That wasn't so hard. And hey, now that we're business partners again, can you help me cash in on those bounties for the BlackSail gang?" The Admiral didn't respond. He was too busy watching Siadi still fiddling with his ruined sailboat. "Just leave it, okay?" he snapped. "Stop touching my stuff." He was so close to losing it, he could barely breathe. And Lee's sight? He had what he came for. Han Jianglong. Not for his strength, not for his sword, but for his name, his weight, his legend. Lee's sight had no interest in building a crew. He was building a platform. A new order was rising in Tianhua Port, and this time, it would fly the BlackSail.
Hey, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy our audiobooks, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, feel free to share your review in the comments section below.
In the castle prison, the Navy brought Lee's sight and the two to their destination. Through the iron fence, this face is much older than it was back then. The image that left Lee's sight that day was etched deep into his memory. Henad was still in his prime at that time, and even though he was at the end of his prime, he was still quite capable of fighting. His hair and beard are all white now, and there are wrinkles at the corners of his eyes, but wearing a coarse linen prison uniform can't hide his tall frame and strong muscles, and he can vaguely see some of his bravery back then. "Brother, do you still remember me?" Lee's sight asked tentatively. Even if he couldn't remember, he still had his own means. "I don't know nobody," Nid sneered, wondering what the Admiral was doing. "It's me. 10 years ago, there was a riot in the northern prison. I used the corrosive agent to open the door for you." Lee's sight continued to try. "This is indeed the case." Nid stood up and put his face close to the fence. "Recognize it?" Lee's sight was full of confidence. "No, there were too many people at that time. It wouldn't be surprising to see a small fish or shrimp. I can't tell who it is. Nid had long forgotten about Lee's sight, let alone Lee's sight's sudden change. Okay, no nonsense, I can fish you out, but you must agree to one condition. Lee Sight let out a long sigh. The brother he recognized was still unreliable. Nid didn't reply. He was determined to die. The best outcome for a pirate is naturally the same as that of everyone else. Wash their hands in a golden basin, live a long life, and die in good health. Other than that, the best way is to sink the ship with it. Then, he was sent to the gallows. Henid no longer has the power he once had, and his old friends have also fallen one after another. Now he's indeed approaching his twilight years, and it is time to die. No way, buddy. I spent 66 gold dragons to catch you. And this is your reaction? Lee Sight didn't know what to say. This guy was completely indifferent. I'm determined to die. Your money has been wasted. Nid refused coldly. Is that so? Lee Sight was silent for a while, and after considering the words, he added, I am living in Tiangua Port. Recently, I want to set up a stage and need someone to endorse my credibility. I think you are very suitable. No need. Just fight and kill, and help look after my store, that's all. You are a pirate, but you can enter and exit this castle. Nid finally moved. It's not just this castle. I'm here, and I can come and go freely in the Emperor's wife's bedroom. Lee Sight threw the reward order for a ship of his own people into the cell. Whether you want to suffocate here and wait for death, or sit on a ship of the new era, it all depends on your mind. The Admiral doesn't give me much time, so I must make a decision as soon as possible. Lee Sight believed that if he could not win even this, the 66 golden dragons would be in vain. 2 hours later, Nid was brought on board. The identity was kept secret from the ordinary crew members for the time being, and a separate room was arranged. If this group of pirates drank too much and talked nonsense in Tiangua Port, attracting the attention of the boss, and knowing that they want to create a stage, they must be strangled in the cradle. Port, aboard the Firmikin's Revenge. It was almost dusk. Nautical interior. Wren, Morrison, Woolman, and others were playing cards. There are many rules on the ship, one of which is that gambling is prohibited on the ship. The reason is very simple. It is taboo to lose the money you have gained in exchange for your life to your accomplices. At worst, it will cause disputes and conflicts, and at worst, it will lead to killing each other. It doesn't matter how you gamble when you get off the ship. It's your own business to take out your life. But it doesn't matter to the backbone. Bet however you want. Why did you bring a man back? Archer was so drunk that when the ship docked, he didn't have to cook anymore. He could prepare his own food, which was considered a holiday. It's Henid, the Hunji Anglong, Lee Sight said calmly. The people playing cards looked here at the same time, and Claude, who came back to drink water, squirted out. When Claude was a child, his parents taught him that Nid would come and eat you, which would stop children from sleeping at night. Cry. But later on, Henid was simply solved by the Emperor, who could stop the macho man's night cry by ordering an eagle dog. The Emperor enthroned the world at the age of 26. He is still young and can be considered in his prime. It is the time to exert his strength. Fuck, why would you bring someone like that up? Only Morrison is the calmest. Although he is famous, that was in the past. It is no longer useful now. It is time for his generation to exert its strength. I want to build new Tiangua Port, Lee Sight said seriously. At this moment, everyone except Claude was stunned. Rim was choked by the cigarette and coughed, and Archer was sober from drinking. Are you not crazy? Woolman scratched the scales that had grown back, and it was over. Lizette went completely crazy. He first seduced the dragon, then put Nid on the ship, and now he wants to build the new heavenly port. Who is in favor and who is against? Lee Sight believed that Oaks and Finn absolutely agreed. Swan was also an ambitious person. Needless to say, Shadimika was an early partner. I don't care. Morrison only cares about the game. They're also playing cards here, and there are many ways to play them. The only difference is that the card crossing the river is the Holy Spirit from the Holy Spirit Church, and the ghost card is the goddess who is the head of the 13 Holy Spirits. The Holy Spirit of the beginning and the end, also known as Fate. Lord, in order to increase sales, playing card merchants have also launched many styles, such as the historical benevolent model, the cult lunatic model, the adventurer celebrity model, and the amusement teacher's astringent model. There is no one that cannot be printed but can't be imagined. They are playing a game that is roughly similar to Golden Flower. Pairs, straights, all colors, bombs, also known as catching chickens, and slowly raising bets. It depends not only on luck, but also on psychological games. Whoever loses will be kicked out, even if the card is strong. Scared away, even if the cards are small, you can also forcefully pretend to last until the end. The dragon has been healed, so we can't just continue to heal it. Keep going, I'll give you 5 silver coins. Ren is a typical dog gambler, bored with the cards until the end. The others didn't say anything anymore. Anyway, everyone on the boat was eaten to death by Lee's sight. On the night when C1 handed over the certificate, new rules were also set. Lee's sight did whatever he wanted, and no one ran away. If you win, you will play the role of a poor ghost wandering on the edge of life and death, dying on the streets, exposing your body in the wilderness, and finally gradually discover the truth about the pirates. Lee's sight remained silent. This was different from ordinary work. It required many rounds of mediation and struggle before a long-term grand strategy could be finalized. It can't be done in a short while. Even if all the mechanisms are exhausted and everything goes smoothly, it will take a whole year or two. It will only be slower than this, not faster than this. Building the new Heavenly Kingdom port. Can Gloria let me go there? Micah, who was also playing cards, was holding a cigarette in his mouth and suddenly said that he had spent a huge price of 40 silver coins to complete the high-end peripheral entertainment industry and was back. Can you have some fucking ambition? Lee's sight was convinced, and it had to be Mr. Micah. Besides, I have a point in making the decision. In this era, there are no arranged marriages anymore. It's all about free love. Micah suddenly began to cry and groan. Does anyone really want to be the girlfriend of a creature like a pirate? Micah fell into depression and looked for too many women. He discovered a truth. The ancients often said that keeping oneself alone is correct, pertinent, and to the point. Physical pleasure can never be worth true companionship. Micah, big despair. As expected of the connecting immortal, he has been sublimated. Damn, Lee's sight was shocked. It must be sublimated hard. After that, Morrison finally started playing stud with Woolman. As a result, Morrison Straight was tortured by Woolman Straight. If you have true companionship, then you shouldn't be repeatedly run over by a large trailer, right? Morrison lost 2 golden dragons in 1 round. 2 days have passed. Early morning, in the bright sky, a horizontally spreading faint light appeared at the junction of sea and sky. It's already the agreed time to board the ship, and now we're heading straight to Tianhua Port. In order not to attract attention, Caruso chose an upper-middle-class hotel. There was nothing he could do at sea. He made a bunk on the floor and let Gloria and Fafnir sleep on the bed. When we got here, we opened 2 rooms, and Caruso was on hand to respond at any time. This is no longer the sphere of influence of Yalin. Although the southern continent has rich crops and a suitable climate, it has much fewer mineral resources. The basic minerals are rich, but the psychic ore is just that. As a grain-producing area, it can stabilize the price at a low price. It was a blessing to provide crops, and there were no civil strife or natural disasters. The emperor was not very interested and focused on showing off his skills with the established powers of the western continent. I haven't encountered any danger these 2 days. In front of the dressing table, Gloria looked at Fafnir in the mirror, combing her hair. Even if Fafnir is not dressed up, her face looks like the work of a sculptor who has spent his whole life learning. Her delicate, youthful, and virginal girlish temperament is unparalleled. Because she is a completely pure dragon bloodline, a real dragon, she is completely different from ordinary people. Farewell, your silver hair shines like a waterfall, as if poured down by the stars. Your treasure-like silver-blue eyes are breathtaking, and the few dragon scales under the corners of your eyes are not only not inconsistent, but also extremely magical. She was a little confused because Gloria had been combing her hair for a long time, but she had no intention of stopping, as if she was hesitating. How about just run away? Gloria whispered in a voice that could only be heard by herself. She didn't know how the people in Low Straw would treat Favna, whether the royal family there would treat her like a family member, or whether she would be trained to be a killing machine to deal with the emperor. I didn't hear it. Favna giggled. Nothing. Do you want to put on lipstick? This will make you look more like an adult. Gloria suggested that anyway, there would still be some time when we arrived at Heavenly Port, and we could still stay with her before making a decision. She completely treated Favna as her own sister. Am I not an adult already? Favna looked surprised. Age-wise, but mentally not. Gloria held her forehead. Very hungry. Then let's eat before we leave. At the same time, on the deck of the Revenge of Forma Kachin. It's a completely different style of painting. All the cold-blooded and surly desperados have been enjoying themselves for 2 days with wild prostitution and gambling. They returned to the ship, entered the sage time, and worked honestly. Rin was so idle that he was arranging for Claude to get Archer on board. At that time, our brothers were in the autumn wind, and the boat was parked with an acquaintance. They went into the inland to find work, killed about 180 people, including all the dog officers, and robbed the Byman noble's gifts for the minister's son's wedding banquet. It's a big deal, worth 600 gold dragons. We were ready to go home. We also found some hotels to rest on the way. I forgot the name of that town. Anyway, we were trying to keep a low profile and were preparing to leave after dinner in a trashy tavern. Archer, this guy is appallingly poor, disgusting, and smells like a drunk. He ordered a large table of dishes to eat alone, but ended up eating the overlord meal. After eating, he was about to leave. All he ordered was big fish and meat. One meal was almost enough for 1 silver coin. How could he let him go? At that time, he was stopped. General Finn doesn't want to cause trouble and is worried that going to the sheriff will attract attention. Our group has been targeted by the Department of Justice, and we must keep a low profile. It's just 40 copper coins. We can help him settle the bill as a job. Good deeds. Rin took a puff of his cigarette. This was the stupidest decision General Finn had ever made in his life, bar none. It had only been 11 days since Claude boarded the ship. When working under the same roof, it was easy to tell which one was the most diligent, which one was the laziest, and which one was the complete loser. Archer is definitely one of the most unreliable people on this ship. Rin sighed and continued to add, guess what? Mr. Archer hadn't finished his drinking yet, so he shamelessly came to our table to drink a lot of wine. He also complained that the food tasted terrible and his cooking skills were much worse than his. Everyone in Lee's sight is stupid. Where are the idiots from? But this was not the time to argue. We didn't even take a few bites of the meal and were ready to leave. We didn't want to compete with this neurotic homeless man. But this damn guy thinks we look familiar, as if he has seen us somewhere. Maybe the reward order says he wants to join the gang. Later we found out that this was better than being a bounty hunter for a while, which was really fucked up. Lee Sight's blood was so frightened that he joined the gang. Is it possible to join the gang at this time? But there were so many people in the tavern at that time, otherwise he would have been killed on the spot. Lee Sight made things difficult for him, saying that he could join the gang as long as he handed over a certificate of surrender. Now you can go out and rip off a nobleman, even one with honor, and he would be considered a gang member. We originally thought that the drunkard had given up and left on his own, and could continue to eat in peace and contentment. I haven't finished eating yet, not even 10 minutes. Archer was still a bit masculine. A macho man fell from the sky. He went straight to skin the local baron. When he came back, he was followed by a group of soldiers. Shit, an escape began, and we almost flew back to the East Coast. Thinking back to it, Rin was amazed. It was so wonderful. If Claude listens to the Book of Heaven, he can join the ship as a backbone just like this. But I was not tormented less. At this time, Gloria and her group climbed up the gangway and came to the deck. Favna was still wrapped in a black robe and mask. But the eyes of the backbone of Heaven were also a little different. They knew that hidden under that black robe was a terrifying, big-breasted, beautiful girl who could stir up troubles in the mainland. The backbone members also felt guilty. After all, there were still big things to do when they arrived, so they just glanced at it and then looked away. The 3 of them didn't notice anything unusual and returned to the room where they lived before. Now that we have walked less than half the way, we will go straight to Tiangwa Port. Fun and the bald man with tattoos are very fast. All the goods can be sent here this morning, and they can set sail at noon after assembly. Sivan admitted that he had underestimated Lee Sight before, but now he was impressed by Lee Sight's ambition. If you want to play the biggest one. Build a new Heavenly Kingdom port. Everyone is here. Then when the goods arrive, all are loaded and the counterweights of the ballast are adjusted. Then we can go to the center of the universe. Lee Sight has never been so excited. This time he'll go back and give the bastards on these islands a big blow. Claude has never been there, but the name of this place is well known. Although the inland sea is golden waters, the pirate strongholds are also very traditional. One country sends someone to take the blame and act as the leader of the stolen goods, and then all countries carry out privateering crazily. Proof: big fight. Only Tianguo port is completely led by pirates, and it is also a place where fugitives from all over the world live in seclusion. It is hard to imagine what kind of ecology it is like. Claude couldn't help but ask a second time, "What is Heavenly Port like?" He asked Lee Sight. "That's a great place." Lee Sight took a puff of cigarette. "The good thing is, it's such a fucking competition. It's a big stage in the East China Sea. It's hard to die. It's more satisfying to lose your life. It's really comfortable to kill." Lee Sight smiled ferociously and continued to add, "What the Emperor likes to do most is to deprive the coinage of each place in the game and declare the invalidity of this currency. It must be exchanged for Yalong Gold Dragon in a short period of time, and this currency can still be held after a certain period of time. In terms of money, one person will be in the northern seat. Metal currency still has huge room for shrinkage, and the metal anti-counterfeiting technology here is even more outrageous than banknotes. The one-eyed brother who accompanied the emperor on an expedition to the royal capital and made an army of 100,000 hungry for 4 days without collapsing was now not in the military, but as the president of the National Bank of Aram. Aram's power and excessive aggressiveness are not only reflected in military expansion, but also in its extremely strong monetary position. If a country's total import volume is greater than its total export volume for a period of time, it will face a situation where its currency depreciates and its purchasing power is reduced. This is called a trade deficit, and vice versa is called a surplus. A trade surplus that is too high is not a good thing, as it means too much reliance on external markets. To deal with this risk, among other considerations, large reserves of foreign currency must be held as foreign exchange. Although everyone hates Yalon, Yalon is the largest exporting and importing country in the Western continent. It is in a state of dominance, both in terms of political status and economic status. All countries must reserve a large amount of Aran Golden Dragon's foreign exchange, which has become normalized in international settlements and even has a tendency to evolve into a common currency. The economic ecology of Tianguo Port, known as the Pirate Republic, is distorted. Because there are no exported goods locally, the sale of stolen goods cannot be counted. This is an illegal cross-border transaction, and it does not enter the country's account, which means that the trade deficit is infinite. Therefore, unlimited golden dragons are needed as foreign exchange to resist financial risks and prevent the republic from collapse. National currency, only outlaws. At the same time, it is also a refuge for all fugitives or special beings all over the world. The permanent population is less than 1/3 of the human race. As long as they have money, aliens are also citizens here. The center of the universe. 10 days later, the Furmak King's revenge is approaching the port of heaven. In this haunting, gold-selling cave, a cold mania spreads and takes root in the soul of every pirate. This is Heavenly Harbor, extremely unsettling and exciting, like a prodigal beauty suggesting the suffocation method when you are about to come out. Extremely dangerous, but impossible to refuse. The weather at sea is changeable. It is raining lightly at this time, and the sky is as hazy as lead. The sea water here shows a bottomless deep blue. The visibility is still very high directly ahead, but the large area of water mist makes it a bit blurry at the end. Vague. In another hour or two of sailing, we will reach the end of the trip. Due to the appropriate wind direction and ocean current, This return trip is considered a relatively fast one. Due to the unknown confusion, the three of Favna couldn't stay in the room at all and came to the deck. As a demon, Caruso only accompanied the two of them out. As a high-ranking person in the religion, his mind was far beyond that of ordinary people. Even though he had never been to the sea, he did not panic at all. Gloria was worried, pacing back and forth on the deck. The time left was getting less and less, and she had to make a decision as soon as possible. Favna wore a mask and a black robe. She looked at anything strange and caught the pirates on the deck asking them questions, all of which were whimsical and illogical. For example, it doesn't make sense at all why BlackSail sail is off-white. Can you put the boat down and give her some directions? She wants to row to Heavenly Harbor. These pirates are all obsessed. Although they are horribly developed, they are pure children. She even wanted to play at the helm, and veins popped up on Oakes's forehead. Just let me drive for a moment, and I'll turn around. Fafner pounded Oakes with her fist, caused about a little damage. Oakes was left speechless. Is this a matter of turning around? Finally, he met a guy more annoying than Archer, because you can drag Archer and throw him into the warehouse and lock the door to prevent him from going drunk. And there is nothing that can be done about this adolescent dragon lady. No, Oakes cherished his words like gold and refused coldly. Cheapskate, Favna muttered. Lee Sight originally thought about ordering Oakes to open it for her, but after careful consideration, he decided to forget it. Such a big thing cannot be trivial. In other aspects, Lee Sight decided, for this dragon lady, the king of soldiers returned from 10 years ago and found out that her sister was being bullied by her white-collar colleagues. She pampered her and abducted her ruthlessly. Don't worry, I'll buy you a boat when you get to Tianguo port, and you could drive it as you like. Lee Sight said extremely generously. Although a ship like Fumaxing was so expensive, buying a ship that could go to sea to other islands and carry a dozen or 20 people was not a problem. Really, Favna couldn't believe it. She had almost forgotten the previous battle and Caruso's warning, saying that each of these guys were extremely cold-blooded criminals. This bearded uncle is quite nice. Caruso noticed the clues here and hurried over. When we got to the place, someone came to pick us up soon, so we had no time to play. Caruso seemed to be telling Favna, but in fact he was admonishing List. He and Gloria have completely different mentality. The power of the Eternal Sect is too terrifying. If this continues, the status of the Holy Spirit will be challenged. Caruso can sacrifice everything, dignity, life, and even conscience. Oh, Favna said reluctantly. Are those people in such a hurry? Are they already waiting at Tianguo port? Lee Sight knew that there was still more than half a month, and it would only be later than this, not sooner than this, but he still looked peaceful. I'll kill them all and pick them up. It's not that urgent, but don't worry. In addition to the privateering license promised by the Earl, the handover person will also be rewarded with a heavy reward, which will not be lower than what the Earl gave. Caruso also had a slight guess at Lee Sight's intentions. Showing such an attitude at this time was nothing more than trying to put pressure on him and make more money, which was understandable. That's great. I will make sure that the three of you feel at home and enjoy the best treatment before the handover. Once you dock, I will arrange for someone to take you to the hotel I own for accommodation. They're all of high standard. Wait, good news, nobleman. Lee Sight and Fun had already discussed how to do it. Swan would look for an opportunity to damage the short-range transmitting device when the handover time was approaching. Tianguo port is full of his acquaintances and informants. How can those outsiders fight with him? As soon as he landed, he was killed by himself. Lee Sight also saw that Dragon Lady obviously had a better relationship with Gloria. Once Gloria settled down in Tianguo port, could this girl leave? By then it will be the end of June, and we will celebrate the new year together and become a family. Caruso is a trouble. This kind of devilish person has no weakness at all and can only be worn out slowly. After finishing Lostra's people, he has no hope of waiting and can only give up and accept the result. These three people are not familiar with the East China Sea at all. Where can they run? There are things floating on the sea. What's going on? Gloria put her hands on the guardrail of the ship and looked at the water below. This was really weird. Lee Sight rushed over. Oh, it's okay. This is normal. It's coming soon. Although the sea area here at Tiangwa Port is also a frost-free port, it is not like Kelsana Island where it feels like spring all year round. It's officially winter now. The climate here is quite cold. The sky and sea water are filled with gloom, and it will snow soon. Pushed by the dark blue waves, pieces of shipwrecks wandered on the sea, like dead souls with nowhere to go. Gloria walked to the bow of the ship and looked at it. A terrifying number of debris, wooden boxes, low-density light metal sheets, and various household lamps are suspended on the water. Although they are relatively scattered, the surrounding sea area is full of this kind of scenery. The feeling of disarray and dissonance is like reaching the end of the world. There seems to be a lighthouse in front of it. Gloria has excellent eyesight. Near the end of the boundary between sea and sky, shrouded in fog, there is a red light that is rotating in the direction of a pointer. Using psychic materials, the lens at the top of the lighthouse can create light that is extremely conspicuous even during the day. Yet, turn left. Lisite said this to Oaks, but he didn't need to say it himself. He knew that he was almost at Shipwreck Bay, and he just had to go around here, and he would be there. I saw the ship moving away from the lighthouse. Gloria was extremely confused and didn't understand why the detour was needed. It wasn't until she sailed for more than 20 minutes that she discovered the problem. This is a stunning sight. In the sea area to the right, hundreds of ships have been stranded, including many luxury passenger ships that are hundreds of meters long. The mountains are stacked on top of each other. Even if only the dilapidated frames are left, they are extremely spectacular and have even become a habitat for seabirds and aquatic animals. The hull was covered in algae barnacles and have been stranded for quite some time. The waves cannot lift these behemoths, and they are waiting for a once-in-a-century wave to wash them all away. That lighthouse is used to confuse people to drive there and run aground on the rocks. It worked for the last time 6 years ago. Now, no one comes at all. They all have long memories. Except for pirates and people who really have no hiding place. Only psychopaths will come. Here, Lisite explained to Gloria. So you think I'm crazy? Gloria frowned. It was really a sinister way. There were so many ships that she could not even count them. The people who died here could not even get the news of their death, but were just lost in this alien sea. Yao Mayer, your current situation is worse than that of psychopath. You belong to the latter and have no place to hide. Lisite was already completely familiar with Gloria. Although Gloria was a lesbian, as long as the relationship was in place, there was no harm in communicating. If you can solve the problem yourself, don't bother the female compatriots in the store. If you really can't solve it, you can only rely on the invincible cashier of the coffee shop. The fiancé of a baron came to Paradise Port for various reasons. It's a long story. Thank you. If you want to leave here, you can only take a pirate ship, right? Gloria asked. Even if the matter is over, it will not be like what Lisite said. She is stranded on the island. Although she has been expelled from the Adventurers Guild and has become a fugitive, the so-called fallen leaves return to their roots. She has traveled thousands of miles, and it is time to end. Now, if you change your appearance and do something casually in a small town, you won't be discovered so easily. Not necessarily. There are bold ships who dare to do business. This is the biggest place for selling stolen goods. Everything can be sold, not just items. Meat tickets can also be sold. Tiangwa Port is an immigration country, and no documents are required to move in. Anyone can berth at the port for free, as long as you are prepared to bear the corresponding consequences. Except for the Navy, we are more welcoming and quite simple. Lisite explained that anyway, everything is possible. There is only the unexpected here, and there is nothing untouchable. Gloria is convinced it's not as good as a pirate ship. Are there any rules on the island? Claude is a cautious person. There are no rules, only conventions. You can just think of it as countless gangs fighting. In short, as long as we don't kill people casually, others will not act rashly. Harmony makes money. No serious person can risk his life. How can he make money by risking his life? But some of the little bastards still needs to be taught a lesson. If you don't have long-sightedness, you could just chop them off. Those with backgrounds should still consider it. By the way, one last reminder, it's better to be as low-key as possible. There are many reclusive people living here. Among them, there is no shortage of smart guys, and there is plenty of money to spend. Hiding here away from the center of power is the mainstay of stimulating consumption here. In short, it's all about recruiting. Lee Site has been hanging out in Tianguo Port for so many years, Min Qing'er. The current situation on this island is 1 Super 3. And this boss of the First Super League is a very well-organized person. It is necessary to turn Tianguo Port into a tourist attraction, transform and cleanse it, and become the world's #1 casino, red light district, and holy place for flying leaves, with absolute safety guarantee. He also called on everyone on the island to invest, enter the Angel Round, develop surrounding islands, and form a military defense line. They cannot stick to a game of chess here until the time is right to officially establish the country. He wants to create a kingdom that never sleeps. Ideal is full. The reality is very skinny. No one stood up to him. Everyone here just plays as soon as the server is opened, and then quits when the server is closed. They don't replenish a single point. They focus on companionship. If you lose a few brothers, you'll be rich. What a big deal. He has no choice but to continue to be a giant in selling stolen goods. It is better to say that he can maintain the current stable situation. The Navy in the southeastern sea area does not dare to cause trouble, which is already very difficult. The Fermat King's Revenge continued sailing for more than an hour, and the sky finally cleared up and the outline of the island in the distance appeared. This is a big island with no ends left and right. That's why it was chosen by the Emperor as the bridgehead for the Eastern expedition, turning this place into a large-scale military-industrial complex with explosives, metallurgy, shipbuilding, and supporting facilities. The new recruits from Aram and the various affiliated countries were all dragged here like monkeys by the transport ship. The equipment was delivered with a click, and the training, induction, and funeral were all in one process. Easy to defend, but difficult to attack. It was not until the end of the war that it was transformed into a commercial port. It did not open for half a year. After scoring twice, it was transformed again. As the boat slowly adjusts its angle to the wind, the boat speed becomes slower and slower. The Fermat King's Revenge stopped at the pier of the Port of Heaven, lowered its sails, and dropped anchor. There are hundreds of ships parked in the port here. Almost most of them are pirates, but there are also other ships with various intentions. Congratulations, you will now open the door to a new world. Ren patted Claude on the shoulder and let out a sigh of relief. He had a certain degree of paranoia about being persecuted. He was worried about a boat coming out of nowhere along the way, especially after the dragon's identity was revealed. Fortunately, there was no interception. Tianguo Port is no different from other places, and it is not as scary as rumored. If we say that ports in other places can be described as bustling with people, they're bustling with people. Then this place is completely in chaos. The looted goods were directly driven onto wooden stakes and transported box by box to the shore using slings. The dock was crowded with second-level dealers hired by the leader who sold the stolen goods, competing for each other's business. Prostitutes with heavy makeup began to solicit customers at the port, and on the ship the pirates, who had been holding back for many days, got off the ship and ran away with them in their arms. There were hundreds of temporary tents on the beach on the pier, and it was self-evident what they were used for. Some prostitutes wore no shirts and displayed weapons. Gloria's outlook immediately exploded. Serious people were stunned, and so was Claude. As soon as the Fermat King's Revenge stopped, a group of people and prostitutes gathered around below, because they knew that the big one was coming. Lee Site had a terrible headache. These things were so damn annoying. Those who have been here before bring brothers who have never been here to enjoy themselves. There is no food during the docking period. You can take care of it yourself. You can sleep on the boat. If anything happens, you will be there on call. If you can't make it, I will treat you as if you have disembarked. That's it. Just do whatever you have to do. Lee Site smoked his cigarette. There was no cargo on the ship, so let these pirates go first. I have to go back to the store and check the situation. Captain, what was robbed this time? Sell it to me. Please, I'll let my wife accompany you. Come on, Your wife needs to do more and more. My wife is young, has a curvy front and back, and is a great job. These businessmen are equivalent to the police hired by the top 3 in selling stolen goods in Tianhua Port. All channels are monopolized by them. The second-level businessmen have a track record of attracting customers to calculate their quotas. They did everything possible to collect Lee Site's goods. Lee Site is one of the most powerful pirate groups in the East China Sea. Basically, every time he comes back with a full load. He is considered a high-quality customer. The top 3 companies also compete with each other. Under the price war, they will each lower their profits to maintain a controllable level. As soon as Lee Site got off the boat, he was surrounded by stars holding the moon. Gloria looked confused. What do these guys think of marriage, you bastards? There's no cargo on the ship, you can go. Lee Site dismissed these people, looking annoyed. Now he's doing business worth thousands of gold dragons, and he still hangs out with these rubbish people who buy and sell tobacco, wine and tea. Most of the time, tobacco, wine, and tea could not be bought and sold. The miscellaneous pirate groups often robbed some grains and cloth and sold some rags. After a busy trip, each pirate was limited to how many silver coins he could get. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. These dealers don't believe it at all. What kind of person is Lee Site? Every time it's a big deal, how could it be out of stock? Whoever squeezes in and says another word, I will chop them into pieces, no joke. Oaks drew his huge sword, but he had no time to contend. Now, this group of people finally became honest and got out of the way. Fuck, you're fucking afraid of him, but not me, right? I'll be a little stronger one day. Lee Site suddenly felt that he was such a bad person. He was so kind and righteous that he might suffer a big loss one day. These dealers smiled awkwardly, but they were not going to stop there. They had to keep a close eye on them. Big customers must be followed. Gloria wore a veil because she was a celebrity adventurer and had many inconveniences and was afraid of being recognized. Claude used to be a serious knight of Aram, where prostitution would be seen as something to be manipulated. When he got off the boat and saw so many women in half-cloth, he felt like he was in a different world with people and tents. Enter, and the woods begin. And Micah has no interest in these bad parallel imports at all. He has high standards. It's a pity that there are no cameras and internet here. Otherwise, Gao Luo would be a 9-1 dominator. The port was crowded with people, and BlackSail's group of people still squeezed out of the crowd before coming to the shore. Woolman is a saint and likes to read books to improve himself. After being tired for almost 20 days, he first rested on the boat and watched the boat with Haywood Toolman. The others followed Lee Site back to the hotel. They had to stay in a normal room to rest and regain their energy. It was Lee Site who drove the hotel anyway, so it would be useless if they couldn't stay there. Deep into the port, the city is incredibly complex. The magnificent castle and fortress once built by the emperor is located at the commanding heights. It is completely white, solemn. It covers an extremely large area and can be seen from anywhere on the island. It has been occupied by a super, and no one is allowed to enter. Outside the castle, due to the transformation of the commercial port, there are street constructions, manufacturing areas, commercial areas, and residential areas that are no less than that of small city. This land has a real estate concept, but to live in the inner city, you have to have money. It's easy to do, and those who work here are considered to be in the first echelon. On the outside, there are many self-built houses densely packed with weird styles. People from all over the world mixed and built illegally. This place is called the Outer City and belongs to the second echelon. However, most of the people who flee here are poor people. There are countless tents in the woods. The homeless who have the worst life, the drug addicts who take hallucinogens and wait for death, and the cheapest prostitutes who are old and yellow are the last ones. It is said to be a place where negative energy explodes. In short, there are no laws in the Pirate Republic. Strictly speaking, there is only one law. You can do anything, but you're also prepared to bear any consequences. Lee Site naturally lived in the inner city. There are too many self-built houses in the outer city, most of which are bungalows with a maximum of only 3 floors. It is difficult to describe the architectural style here in words. If I have to use a metaphor, it is a doomsday wasteland plus magic punk. The rainy rammed earth road is full of potholes, and the pits run over by carriages are filled with stagnant water. The infrastructure is almost zero, and a little neon light elements are sewn in. I don't know who is the leader. They like to use fluorite to smelt into light tubes as signs or signs. It's a light box, colorful and extremely fancy. It's so weird here. Favna looked curious because there were relatively few humans here. 2/3 of them were other races, and there were real dark elves. Unlike Xiadi, her skin was faintly lavender, and her appearance was quite good, and the female was dark. Elves tend to have extremely hot bodies, with waist-to-hip ratio and tall breasts, coupled with cool leather armor. They are extremely hot. Bearded dwarves, dwarf-like goblins, and other races are also the same. Gloria carefully protected Favna and did not let her attract attention. "Master Captain, what brought you back? Have a drink, I'll treat you to it. Brotherly is back, and the sky will be clear. The price for selling stolen goods must be raised. Come back, generally. I have forgotten my most proud belief. Anyway, tears are flowing. MacArthur said if Lister came back, I would allow my soldiers to become deserters. Some acquaintances even understand the internal language of BlackSail, but some people really hope that lease site will raise the price and all channels for selling stolen goods will be monopolized. Although the top 3 will compete with each other, they also have private agreements and finally stabilize at around 64 yuan. Floating. The June 4th here is the June 4th after the black market price has been slashed and the Tianhua harbor has been suffering for a long time. And Lee's site is a ruthless person. He got into trouble with a big boss back then and took the lead in organizing the strike movement. He led a group of pirate leaders, and instead of selling stolen goods, they just hoarded goods for his own use. If you don't make me happy, I will. If you're not allowed to celebrate the new year, the worst thing you can do is starve to death together. Although we finally compromised, the price still went up a bit during that time. From then on, Lee's site became a man of the hour, a bit like a big brother who took the lead. Claude has indeed opened the door to a new world. He has come to the most chaotic place in the world. It has to be said that Lee's site is full of cards here. There are acquaintances everywhere, and everyone has to call her brother. Call Captain, your vision is still right. Even if you are a pirate, you still have to get a reputation. Caruso was worried that there might be an accident in the handover. Lee's site was obviously a local snake with deep roots here. Fuck, you're all abstract, right? Lee's site was distracted. He had been normal these years and looked at Ren. Why are you looking at me? You know I'm introverted and stupid. Old Godrin said calmly. Lee's site said no more words. BlackSail has raised funds to own a lot of real estate in the inner city, and the 3 most valuable ones are a large hotel with a bar, which serves as BlackSail's base, and a coffee shop, which was specially chosen in a prime location, closest to the boss's manor. Not to make money, but to enter the interior. The last one is a casino and a tavern. They only pump water to earn room and drink money. There are no tricks like 2 ghosts carrying sedan chairs. It is well known in the local area. If you get involved, you will have your hands chopped off. If you are too greedy, you will be hanged in front of the casino and sold. Yu Fei and Crazy Tiger looked at it. They were both lease site subordinates. These 2 people were responsible for collecting accounts locally. The essence of Tianhua Port is a big brawl between pirates and gangs, like refining poison. 1 super, 3 strong real gold is not afraid of fire. Now its position is unshakable, and it snowballs like a snowball, getting bigger and stronger. Anyone who has no ability here needs someone to protect him. Otherwise, if he is killed, the whole family will have no place to explain. Lee's site's ability can naturally protect people and collect protection fees. Lee's site is kind-hearted and prefers to call it labor fee. The price is far lower than the market price, and his main focus is small profits but quick turnover. BlackSail and his group arrived at the inner city after more than 20 minutes of legwork. This place is no different from a serious city. The urban planning is very sophisticated. The height limit of the houses is 10 stories. The architectural style is relatively uniform. It is based on blue and white. It looks out to the horizon and looks like a resort. The commercial street facades are all exquisitely decorated, not unlike the apocalyptic wasteland style in the outer city. The big bosses on the island will invest in repairing public areas. The stone roads are extremely clean and flat, and there are streetlights. The real estate is valuable, so that it can attract all kinds of gods to come here to live in seclusion, support tourism, and stimulate consumption. Although there is an air of civilization here, it is not entirely there. But neon fluorite tubes seem to have become a regular thing, and they're everywhere, and there are all kinds of big character signs advertising, which is dazzling and overwhelming, such as restaurants and bars, real estate agencies, beautiful women coming to your door, killer services, low-interest loans. Flying EZ is looking for XXX, only 28. Lisite was not welcomed by everyone in Paradise Port. He once engaged in gangsterism and offended many people, especially those who trafficked in hallucinogenic substances. Before they arrived at the hotel, 3 people walked towards them. They all stopped when they saw Lisite. Lisite adheres to the principle of playing both sides and leaving room for things, but if there is really no room, then he has to put pressure to death. These 3 people did not block Lisite's way. Lisite walked back deliberately, changed his path, and directly knocked away a spirited young man among the 3. This man wore a skull as a necklace. After the collision, Lisite continued walking as if nothing happened. In the inner city, the streets were full of people. How could I hold my breath after being treated like this in public? I immediately took out an axe and wanted to do it, but was stopped by my accomplices next to me. BlackSail is now so powerful that it has killed the entire family of a lord of Lanwan Port. Even if Lisite and the others did not come back during that time, the news was spread all over the island. Not only is it famous for its violence, but it is also the most cerebral among the major pirate groups today. Pirates don't eat brains. They have been pirates all their lives. They are also relatively powerful in the local area and have a good climate. After thinking about it carefully, I endured it. But it's not over yet. You're even wearing a necklace. Who the hell are you bluffing? Rin taunted, looking down on this hallucinogenic drug trafficking gang that BlackSail had killed into a remnant, and slapped his face with his claws. This person was already red and warm, but the 2 people next to him were fighting each other to death. If I had known better, I wouldn't have bought you a mobile phone and downloaded that thing called Pojenshin. Morrison pointed at it. This outfit made him very happy. He really has the kind of silly character who likes to write ruthless words on his body. Brother Shot doesn't understand mobile phones or Genshin Impact, but he can play on mobile phones. Fun was speechless, and then she kept a low profile and revealed the whole story. Okay, let's go. Fun was also very tired and had to sleep in a proper room. After being at sea for a long time, his mental state was numb. Stop playing games, Uncle Skeleton. Favna waved her fist to cheer him up. Lisite's expression is quite wonderful, and this girl is quite cute. Not long after, we arrived at a hotel on the side of a busy intersection on the main road of the commercial street. When BlackSail raised funds to open the hotel, business was very good because the interior decoration was personally directed by Lisite, focusing on modern simplicity with a bit of Nordic log style and a bit of red brick retro ironwork industrial style. Business is booming. Everyone comes here to drink, and it has become a place for internet celebrities to check in. But it didn't take long for others to follow your example and copy you directly. There was no copyright awareness here. Before long, the simple decoration style was everywhere, and the business plummeted. Because Lisite is a serious person and doesn't act like a bunny girl. The waitresses in other pubs are coquettish and astringent. They talk about what's good and do whatever they want, and their hot dance performances are all sprinkled with water. Dimensionality reduction hits. It wasn't until Lisite took a differentiated approach and turned it into a private bar, attracting people who only focus on reading books and drinking mixed drinks, that the sales volume increased slightly. The name of Lisite's hotel is BlackSail Hotel, which is concise, so others know who owns it. Back to the hotel. Let's settle the 3 glorias first. The hotel has a total of 6 floors. The first and second floors are a bar, where you can also make cooked food and fast food, and the rooms above are there. There are scattered guests on the first floor, but the environment is quite good, with suitable lighting, dark gray floor tiles, light brown wood as the background wall, and iron chandeliers. It is also very clean. The people watching the scene here are not ordinary people. There is a middle-aged man with white hair and a resolute face cleaning cups at the bar. He is tall and straight, wearing a white shirt and a black vest. His white hair is tied into a ponytail, and his beard is of appropriate length. His kind and bright eyes are quite gentlemanly. He has either been a butler or a knight, but being placed here by Lee Sight, it must be the latter. Old way to look who's back. Lee Sight came in with a large group of people, and it was difficult to avoid being discovered. Hey, Captain, it's been more than 3 months. The middle-aged man's face showed a bit of joy. Let's arrange 3 rooms first, and let the distinguished guests stay first. Finn spoke politely to the middle-aged man, then turned to Gloria and the other 3 and said, as for food, someone will deliver it to your door every day. You can also stay in the city. You could just hang out there, but I don't recommend it. There are many hired waiters in the hotel. A waitress took Gloria and the 3 of them to the upper room on the top floor. How's business? Lee Sight asked casually, not really caring. He was thankful for the income of 100 silver coins. This place has always been used as BlackSail's home. To make money, he had to rely on selling Yufei and Crazy Tiger. More than 80 silver coins, it's too deserted. The middle-aged man replied, Okay, it's very good. Why come back this time? I will stay here for a long time. Probably for a long time. Lee Sight whispered in his ear, I want to build. New Heavenly Kingdom port. Do whatever you want. The middle-aged man chuckled and didn't care much. He was used to strong winds and waves. As expected, a member of the Royal Knights of Gioleg. Awesome. Viagra is awesome. Lee Sight was surprised. This middle-aged man could be considered one of the big guys who came to escape from the world. He ran out of money and was accepted by himself. He made a lot of money, but it was impossible for him to do anything. It was just an ordinary employment relationship. But we have been acquaintances for several years. When we encounter problems, we need to play some emotional cards and help to support them to some extent. That's 3 months' wages. Lee Sight took out 20 golden dragons. Although Lao Weitu could draw money from the hotel's profits, who could use this little money? Yeah, then I won't be polite. The middle-aged man knew that Lee Sight never made an empty trip, so he might have done something cruel this time. The golden dragon has the status of monetary hegemony. Although it itself gives the value of precious metals, it is not only that, because the emperor controls a large number of psychic material sources. Wherever there are mineral veins, the army will smell the smell and go there. They must be ruthless, conquer, and strive to equate golden dragons with psychic ores as an endorsement of credibility. If you want to buy mines from me, you will only recognize golden dragons and harvest the gold of other countries. There is a growing trend towards a universal currency that can be used everywhere. It seems that the past 3 months have been uneventful and nothing has happened. I feel refreshed, brothers. Ren had to go find his few fury concubines, some of whom were bartenders, some were waiters in the cafe, and some of them were just like Ren's brother who didn't like to talk because Ren had enough money. Please hurry up and get out of here. Micah complained. BlackSail and the others should also rest. There will be big work in half a month. Everyone on the ship has ambitions and will not be content with the status quo. By the way, your wife comes here to see me every day, and I'm almost bored to death. The captain should take some time to comfort her. The middle-aged man said calmly. Claude's world was turned upside down, and Lee Sight was married. Can we fight in a secret port with our family and friends? TSK, I already told you that she's not my wife. Who the hell has a 200-year-old wife? Lee Sight was speechless. It was difficult for BlackSail to start a business in the early days, so Lee Sight had to find a vampire to borrow money to replenish the capital. Wasn't it blessed by the priest? The middle-aged man was a little confused. In the Western continent, there were clergymen as notaries, and they were married. The pastor is just a bad guy. I'm an atheist. I have to go back to my hometown to get a certificate before I can be considered married. Lee Sight only recognized the Civil Affairs Bureau, but he also thought about going there and taking a look. It might be a bit scary if she went crazy. The middle-aged man smiled awkwardly. The captain is really a scumbag. The border of Syria. The imperial capital, the eternal Holy See Great Library. A great building with outstanding cultural achievements. It houses one of the largest collections of books in the entire world. It seems to be protected by the true God. It is said that when the blood of the silver dragon irrigated the imperial capital, the scope of the eternal sect was not stained with a drop of blood. The Eternal Great Library is a huge complex of buildings stretching over thousands of acres. The miracles created by the ghostly craftsmanship of the pioneers are breathtaking. Inside the library, the huge pointed stained glass window lattice shines with the light of blessing, and the sunlight veil casts golden dust and envelopes the place. The magnificent ceiling murals are domed, and the bookcases that are taller than the building are curved along the walls, winding like a maze. It is so complicated that the upper floors of the bookshelf can only be reached by riding on a spiritually driven lifting platform. The insurmountable meditation and the solemn palace are combined together, holy, peaceful, and silent to feel the quiet years. No one is allowed to enter here, only accessible to clergy. Even as a high-level cleric, Sharon's area of activity is quite limited. Some books containing forbidden knowledge are deep in the library, but it was heavily guarded and there were many checkpoints, so you couldn't get in by yourself. To her surprise, there was no publicity for the Dragon Lord's appearance this time, and it was even kept strictly confidential. You must know that every manifestation is big news in the newspapers, and the influence of every miracle must be expanded to the maximum. However, this time it was rarely sealed. Not only did outsiders not know about it, but even the lower-level priests did not know about it. The personnel don't know either. The priest she followed treated her well, but he only vaguely revealed that the member of the congregation was resurrected from the dead, and his physical state completely returned to that of 20-year-old. All chronic physical ailments were eliminated, and he returned to his peak state to serve the Holy See. Contribute. The most important is, he also returned to the sect's headquarters, the Imperial Holy See, with the so-called Dragon Lord's true edict. As for the content of the true edict, Sharon has no way of knowing, and I'm afraid even the priest doesn't know. Sharon was really curious. She understood that there were extraordinary powers in this world, but they were not so extraordinary. Arcana can even be said to be a science, an objective law of things in this world that can be falsified. As for other mysterious techniques, or the techniques practiced by adventurers or knights, although there is no research at all, and there are countless systems, they are not too exaggerated. They are still within the scope of understanding and tolerance. Even the most advanced medicine in the Western continent is exactly the same as the original world. Sharon herself has also practiced some arcane arts over the years, and can release the simplest small fireballs, but only if there is a fire source. Unlike Lee Sight's gang of bad friends, there was a man named Fun who had a good background. He was a former member of the Tower Alliance of the Warlock Council. What was even more terrifying was a former member of the Magic Energy Industry Committee. These 7 words were like thunder. She has also been quietly paying attention to the affairs of the BlackSail pirates, and will anonymously entrust adventurers on the east coast of the Principality of Bima to collect information. As long as you live a serious life, the Adventurers Guild platform can be used for anonymous entrustment. But no matter how mysterious the technique is, some people may be able to do incredible things, but bringing the dead back to life and turning back time is completely impossible. Sharon looked through all the documents in the library, trying to find similar miracles, but found nothing. However, there were even more outrageous things recorded in the book. For example, the Dragon Lord occasionally appears and asks believers to kill blasphemers, causing the celestial spheres to converge and dimensions to collide. That is something recorded in ancient times, which is quite vague. Why? Sharon let out a long sigh. It seemed that it was something beyond her level. Over the years, she has been looking for her former classmates everywhere. Apart from William and his accomplices who just appeared recently, she only knows about Lee's Sight and a senior who was in the adventure group in Los Stella. She doesn't know what happened to the others. Sharon had a vague premonition. Recently, she kept having strange dreams in the Underground Research Institute. She always thought that when she woke up, she just had a dream in a different world, until Lee's sight was burned to ashes. She thought it had been so long, and it was time to do something. As a woman, I really can't praise a place like the East China Sea. Maybe I should tell Lee's sight all my findings. Sharon guessed that someone as stupid as William was just pushed to the forefront. After all, there were many classmates here, and it was really a great sin to put his name as that traitor. I feel sorry for those old friends who died at the hands of the warlocks and were torn to pieces during their escape. The power of the Holy See is so frightening that even the current emperor has to stay out of the way. Although it is a bit ridiculous, the newspaper also said that the train can only run after being blessed by the Dragon Lord. Today's Pope is even said to be able to adjust time and space. Cher doesn't know whether it is true or not. She has never seen such a big shot, so she may just be a boaster. Sharon just used some tricks to get all the registration documents of the steam train, trying to find any clues to find if there were any classmates. As expected, William was just a clown pushed out, and those few people didn't want to come forward and bear the humiliation. These people are all top academics in the school. Each of them has multiple degrees. They are top talents who will directly enter the space agency or the National Defense Department after graduation. Sharon decided it was time. She decided to entrust the Adventurers Guild to bring her letter to Heavenly Port, telling Lee's sight her current situation, the news she knew about her classmates, her views on the situation, and what to do next. The cost of this job is not cheap. Sharon can be said to be a high-income person. As a high-level cleric, she has a monthly salary of 115 silver coins, as well as various welfare policies of the Holy See, so she has no worries about food, clothing, housing, and transportation. Completely a net gain. Converted into North American purchasing power, he is almost an executive of a listed company. Although I had previously entrusted adventurers to collect information, it didn't cost much, just a few silver coins, but if I were to deliver the message, the cost of the adventurer's return trip by boat had to be taken into consideration, as well as the danger of the Heavenly Kingdom port. Costs increased dramatically. She knew that Lee's sight was in Tianguo port and opened a hotel. It may take me several months of salary to send this letter. The scumbag Lee's sight wants to stay in that hellish place. I'm really convinced, but there's nothing I can do about it. Although the senior from Lowstraw is now in an honorary adventure group, he is still a member of the group and cannot be of much help. Just keep in touch. Instead, Lee's sight became a local snake in the East China Sea. He could do more things. He might be able to catch William and those classmates in the future. It would definitely be kidnapping according to pirate methods, and he would also help. Sharon has had enough of staying in this hellish place anyway, and must find a way to get home. The warlock must know the way. What is needed is for all the students to work together to climb to a very high position in this world. Just do what comes to mind. She left the library and returned to her parish residence. The influence of the Holy See is so terrifying that it even has a parish. The green public facilities are beautiful, fresh, and warm, and the birds are singing and the flowers are fragrant. It is like heaven on earth, and the real port of heaven belongs to it. A parish is a place for clergy and their families to live. Non-clergy members and congregants can also spend money to purchase real estate. The real estate prices here are terrifying. If outsiders want to live here or open a business, they must have very strong connections. Sharon returned to her residence, a single church apartment on the 6th floor of the parish, but it also had a complete kitchen, bathroom, living room, and bedrooms. Although it cannot be called luxurious, it is still quite exquisite. She prepared letter paper and a pen. Although she could send the letter anonymously, to be on the safe side, it was better to write in English, which was safe for both herself and Lee's sight. That guy Lee's sight has been studying in North America for so long. Although his spoken language starts with F, he has few serious words in his mouth. He is extremely abstract, and his words often refer to mobile games or mysterious skills that are arbitrary and have unknown meanings. But reading is still no problem. Zahak shamelessly returned to the imperial capital with Jean Meyer. What is the concept of transferring him to the border as a lieutenant to do paperwork? It's equivalent to asking a character from the outer house to go to Wisconsin and become a state trooper. How comfortable would that be? Sword King of Aram, famous in the mainland. After the emperor came to power, the Continental Martial Arts Competition was officially launched in mid-September of the year. The gold content and purity of the mainland martial arts champions are absolutely unparalleled. They can reach the top of the power center in one step. And the first session is often the most fierce one. The Sword King of Aram succeeded in winning the championship with his skill, which can even be said to be magical, and defeated all the heroes. Now he's a member of the mainland martial arts competition, sitting in the instructor's seat. Sword Stand. This is a place with a rather elegant name. It is not in the imperial capital, but on the edge of a waterfall in the mountains on the outskirts. It seems to be based on the architectural style of the far eastern islands. The Sword King was not from the western continent, so the emperor did not use him seriously. He only gave him a false reputation, a reward, an honorary title, and kept him away from power. Even so, the influence is quite far-reaching, and the number of apprentices is almost over the threshold. The sound of flowing water from the waterfall is endless. The atrium with ebony flooring looked particularly elegant, and inside the gauze curtain, there was the Sword King's new female student playing a musical instrument. All the furnishings are extremely elegant, including grid screens and antique shelves. The smell of sandalwood hits your face, and the clear pond under the waterfall is planted with carefully tended lotus leaves. It has a transcendental meaning. You can faintly see carp jumping in the pond. Zahak knelt on the ground. The Sword King just turned his back to him, sitting cross-legged on the edge of the waterfall and sipping tea. Only his back could be seen. He was wearing a simple gray martial arts robe. He was far less burly than expected. Although he had a tall frame, he looked a little skinny, and his long black hair had raw white silk. Tell me about that person. The Sword King is also in his prime, but his voice is already slightly hoarse. It's a disfigured face. It must have been severely burned. The disfigured part was also self-inflicted with more than 10 cuts. Zahak hasn't finished speaking yet. It's really stupid. The Sword King sighed. I want you to tell me about that man's moves. Zahak was ashamed and recounted the battle outside Linden City that day in detail. His sleeves and shoes were full of knives. The hidden weapons were also flying knives, repeating crossbow arrows, and strange wing blades, as well as 2 strings of whips, and with other conventional equipment. It's almost like an arsenal. I see. He carries all kinds of weapons, but he doesn't have a long sword, right? The Sword King roughly guessed it. What does the teacher know? Zahak was deeply puzzled. I have traveled all over the world looking for masters. I know a thing or two about all organizations. You are far from your opponent of this man. When it comes to swordsmanship, he is more than 100 times better than you. The Sword King said calmly. Zahak was extremely shocked. So the teacher knows who he is? Of course not. I don't know who he is, but I know his origin. If you can kill him, you will no longer have shackles on what you want in your heart, and the Black Sword Ming will no longer be your opponent. I can be considered someone who has a successor. What should I do to be stronger? I don't think I can go any further. You haven't completely mastered the art of swordsmanship. The so-called sword is nothing more than iron with edges on both sides. The important thing is to master it and capture the trajectory of all things. This move is called stopping water. You should practice to this level first, and then come to me. Bar. The Sword King's words are quite pretentious and mysterious. He picked up the folding knife on the table without any movement, just a buzzing sound in his mind, and Zahak also had some tinnitus. Then, the waterfall on the side of the pool was in a still state, as if frozen, but it did not freeze. Zahak was amazed. How on earth could this be done? A fish leapt out of the pond and fluttered into the waterfall. Unexpectedly, he found that the waterfall was still flowing. The water splashed for a moment and then returned to stillness. Extremely mysterious. Swordsmanship is just like this waterfall. It seems to be static, but the water flows do not mix with each other and flow in layers according to their own trajectories. Do you understand? The Sword King said so. Zahak doesn't understand at all. But since the teacher said so, he had no choice but to keep practicing until one day he could cut off the waterfall. At the same time, in a harbor of heaven, inner city, BlackSail Hotel, second floor bar. Is this enough to kill you? Morrison sat at the bar. The hotel's turnover is basically used to pay employees, and the one with the highest salary is the dark elf bartender in front of him, who is very skilled. If he can earn more than 80 silver coins, the efficiency is actually quite good. This is considered net income, not turnover. She finished making the cocktail and even placed a kiss on the rim of the glass. Morrison was so shocked that he was going to be sent to hell if he drank it. Originally, the group of people were planning to have a good sleep first, but they slept on the boat for too long and were not used to it when they returned to the shore because they were used to being bumpy in the sea. A normal bed will feel like it's shaking all the time when you sleep on it. Just like a homeless person, if you often sleep on hard concrete floors, you will feel like you're sinking when you sleep on the bed. You have to set your body clock back first and drink on the hour. Lisite was hesitant to find his cheap wife. It was still daytime, but it would be too dangerous at night. He had to break off the relationship this time. It would not be a problem if it continued like this. That crazy woman was a bit crazy. 6 years ago, he borrowed 160 gold dragons from her as startup capital. It was difficult for Heffen to start a business, so he had to sacrifice his appearance. It's not that Lisite is so handsome. With his pure pirate face, pirate body, and pirate clothes, no one can take a fancy to him. Lisite heard her say it. She divided the grades of blood into several categories. The most fragrant is the blood of high elves, the strongest is the blood of druid, and the second is virgin. It's not that Lisite's blood is of high quality, nor is it delicious, not as good as a virgin's, but it is very special and has a sense of satisfaction. Just like girls like drinking milk tea, they like that strange and addictive excitement. It's hard to describe that feeling. For example, if a person plays too much, his threshold becomes higher, so he needs to be more stimulating, eat more spicy food, and have more props when going to bed. Lisite's blood felt like this. General fun, just go to the casino and settle the bill. The fish sellers and crazy tigers are under your service. Lisite made up his mind. He must go now and send it in the evening. 160 gold dragons is not a small amount. He won't have much left after paying it back. He wants to pay back 80 first. Anyway, this marriage must be divorced. I can't control those two crazy dogs. Fun refused, actually not wanting to move. Can't you just ask brother AO to go? I have something important, and you don't want a crazy woman to come and kill you because you ordered me to do my work and delayed my time. Lisite was half joking, half threatening. God damn it. I command you. I really belong to you. Fendu was furious and said no more. He went to the casino to collect the bill alone. He made a lot of money there. The protection fee plus the casino's revenue. After 3 months, he still had 70 or 80 gold dragons. This was the most conservative estimate. Lisite drank wine to strengthen his courage and stretch his muscles. Today he had to get rid of her. She was said to be his wife everywhere. How could I sleep with Gloria? 11 Kagome and 12 Kikyo are still waiting for me. Lisite smoked a cigarette and headed alone to a small manor in the eastern part of the inner city. Strictly speaking, there are no real vampires in this world. It's because of a mysterious bacteria that existed in ancient times called ancient scarlet fever. This germ is so special that living people cannot be infected. Only the dead can be infected. According to personal constitution, most people will not be able to become vampires even if they are exchanged for blood after death, except for a very small number of lucky ones. Even the great prison in the north doesn't understand why. This kind of germ actually has no entity, nor is it an energy body. It is a rather ethereal existence. After being infected, they will become a special kind of life, and they prefer to call themselves vampires. Because of the particularity of this germ, although it will not die under strong sunlight, its ability to move will be greatly weakened and the germ will no longer be active. If the weather is extremely hazy, there is no harm in going out during the day. In addition, they are quite afraid of the high temperature of flames. Other than that, it can be said to be a perfect life. If this germ had to be traced back to its origin, it would also be involved in the local mythology of the Western continent. It came from the original deceased in the universe. From his remains, all the evil forces spread, of which scarlet fever was only an insignificant part. Because it was the first thing to die, It created the concept of death, and instead had the nature of immortality. But fairy tales should be treated as a joke. The vampire clan is not a fun thing to play. It is an existence that everyone wants to kill. The eyes of believers of all religions gleam when they see it. The opportunity for the auxiliary police officer to become a full-time member belongs to him. Catch one of them and execute him in public, and you will be immediately assigned to the organization. Moreover, there are many demon hunters with unknown heritage among the people in the Western continent, as well as many ghosts, human-faced demon birds, sirens, tree demons, etc. Demon hunters are a serious profession with a higher status than adventurers. General Fun looks up to them. They are recognized by top students because these people have higher overall quality and are both civil and military. Unlike adventurers who have too many weaklings, he's the kind of player who seeks death by cheating on his buddies. Therefore, my status as a cheap wife is very embarrassing. 9 years ago, I heard that Tianguo Port was a good place, so I came all the way from the northwest of the Western continent to take refuge. This girl, if nothing else, is rich. Lee's sight hasn't even figured it out yet. She's just a rich woman anyway. She said she was 200 years old. A year here is 16 months, almost 300 years old. In addition, Lee's sight is probably deceitful because she was in her 20s when she died and has always been like that. Who knows how old you are? What if you are a 1,000-year-old weirdo? You've lost money to the point of bursting. Aren't you kidnapping an underage male? Lee's sight was thinking wildly along the way and ignored several people he met on the way to say hello. As the buildings became sparse and sparse, they gradually came to the edge of the jungle. There was no one around at all because there were extremely terrifying mummies stacked outside, warning no one to enter. And a manor also jumped out. It was not very grand, a few notches lower than the Earl of Linden City, but it was also very sophisticated. This dark New England Gothic-style tower was extremely gloomy. The place she chose was very good. The lighting here was extremely low, and it felt like it was almost nighttime during the day. Before he even walked in, there were 2 sturdy men waiting at the door, dressed cleanly and without any peculiar smell. That person was not a human being with a normal mind, but one who had been bewitched by her spell. He completely lost his mind and became a slave, with extremely dull eyes. A guest is here. Yes. Their tone of voice was also quite dull, as if they had a limited vocabulary. Lisite heard Finn say that spells can be roughly divided into 3 categories, and one of them is called magic. It can only be cast because of racial talent or special blood. It cannot even be copied. The caster only needs to use it naturally. It can be used without any materials or rituals. Fuck it. Lisite put out the cigarette, but on the back of a strong man's hand without any quality. Everyone else is a sorcerer's pile driver, but I'm a sorcerer's pile driver. The strong man who was hit by the smoke showed no reaction, as if he had lost his sense of pain. Lisite brought 80 gold coins, which was considered as the down payment of the breakup fee. As soon as he opened the door, he was startled. There was a maid standing at the entrance, as if she had been waiting for a long time. Cheap wife is a person who knows how to enjoy herself. I don't know where she got more than 10 virgins as blood slaves. The blood slave is different from the 2 strong men outside. He retains his mind. He may be charmed to a certain extent, but there is also a voluntary component. There is no one in this shabby place in Tianguo Port, so they are immediately taken to a brothel. There is no law here. Under her control, even though his health is worrying, he can still survive. You're back. The master told me to wait here for you, help you freshen up, and then go see her. The blood slave said truthfully, and 2 more blood slaves stood next to him. Lisite has enjoyed the so-called grooming, which is indeed an emperor-level service. With 3 girls helping you take a bath, it is difficult not to stand up. But today is not the time. I am here to cut through the mess quickly. Wash the hammer. Lisite pushed aside the 2 blood slaves and entered directly into the middle hall. She was not seen here, so she should be on the 2nd floor. He has been here countless times, and he is already familiar with the route. We arrived at the spacious study room on the 2nd floor. As expected, Delia was sitting on the sofa reading a book. The light in the room was extremely weak, and only a weak fire was burning in the fireplace. Although vampires are afraid of fire, there is no real harm as long as they don't come into contact with it. Wearing only a purple nightgown, she lay on her side on the chaise longue, with her back to Lee's sight. She has blood-red wavy hair that almost reaches her waist. She is quite slender and tall among women. She is about 1.78 meters tall. Her legs are probably 2/3 tall, showing her slender and slim feet. It makes people salivate. I'm here to pay you back, and there's also a divorce. Okay, I'm leaving. After Lee's sight finished speaking, he threw the money bag heavily on the table and opened it directly. Before he could go out, a translucent blood-red barrier completely blocked the door. Can you say that again? Delia put down her book, tightened her nightgown, stood up and looked at List, who was taller than her, with her chin. Even her eyelashes were blood-red, but it was extremely cold under that iceberg face. Her eyes were as green as gemstones and breathtaking, but they also had the coldness and mystery of a snake or scorpion. So what if I say it again, divorce? Do you understand? Lee's sight picked his ears. Anyway, he had had enough of this crazy woman. I will know if they are the two women you brought back on the ship. After finishing speaking, Delia's expression became even colder. Lee's sight was speechless. He was indeed so fucking neurotic. Why did he send someone to keep an eye on him? Then let's go, Delia said calmly. Lee's sight's face almost broke with laughter. From then on, he was like a fish entering the sea and a bird flying into the sky. He was no longer fettered. The new Heavenly Kingdom port was launched. He was getting ready to go out. But the barrier hasn't been lifted yet, so let's see if Lee's sight really wants to leave. A drop of sweat broke out on Lee's sight's forehead, so he said that he couldn't bear it and something big was coming. This crazy woman had no intention of letting her escape from the beginning and was trying her best. What do you mean? You should at least open the door when seeing off guests, right? Lee's sight didn't care. Anyway, he didn't care about his face or his life. He had been alone with Shun Dao for eternity. Anyway, I didn't want to serve him anymore. He was going to jump directly from the window. The weak fireworks in the fireplace were swaying, and the already dark space was even more chilly. It seemed that Delia was already angry. If Lee's sight didn't have the cursed weapon in his body, all he would have to do was cast a spell and become his slave permanently. I just regret that I didn't do it earlier. This scumbag is too special, as if he came from an alien celestial body. He is addicted to blood. This kind of poisonous thing is impossible to let go. He even exercises extreme restraint every time and only tastes it briefly, for fear of dying and no longer being supplied. Not only that, but there are also those vicious and charming characters of his that are inseparable from him even now. Delia had already been driven crazy by Lee's sight's free method. It's not impossible for you to get a divorce. It still needs to be notarized by a clergyman. That counts. I only come back once every few months. I'll give you what you can do. I just tolerate you, Delia said nonchalantly and sat on the sofa again. She was not a young girl with a new love. She had long been crazy about Lee's sight's money-offensive and life-threatening PPT. Lee's sight pressed his tongue against his cheek, knowing that Delia was not a person who would criticize priests, but this was indeed the tradition of the Western continent. He asked the priest of the Holy Spirit Church to notarize it and received the blessing of the God of love. Friends and relatives came over to hold a banquet. Even if it's done, where can I find a priest in this wretched place? Lee's sight was convinced. The crazy woman had kidnapped him from the island next door. Then he thought that there was a fucking Caroso on the island. This comparison is notarization can be done, but now we have a big event and we can't let it go wrong. He immediately changed his approach and said, "Isn't there a banquet yet? That means there isn't one. They're just living together and pretending to get married. Why are you serious about it?" Lee's sight said the giant scumbag's words, spread his hands, sat on the chair, and started smoking. If it weren't for the 160 golden dragons, what would the crazy guy do with you? These words made the well-informed Delia feel a little depressed, but she can figure it out after thinking about it. After all, she is a scumbag who got out of a pile of scum and has no sense of morality, let alone a sense of responsibility. Pure scumbag. Oh, Delia chose to play dead and treat it coldly. The windows and doors were blocked, and she continued to read a popular novel called The Adventurer Ragnar's Observations. She has no interest in highbrow and obscure readings. She's just a delicate creation in a small circle. The best art should be as generous as the sun, and everyone can intuitively feel it, which is truly great art. Lisite's eyelids twitched. This woman is really difficult to deal with. She's under house arrest, right? He was a little undecided whether to deal with her harshly and leave first or to continue with her. If it was the former, he would be entangled again. This girl looks very serious, but secretly she's just crazy. According to the boss of the BlackSail hotel, she came here once every 3 days in the first month, and then it increased to once a day. Before coming back, I ran several times a day. It's extremely dark, and people are even sent under surveillance. It's so scary, but I can hold on tight now and try to keep on my dignity. But I won't be able to hold on anymore later, and I might get a big job. Lisite was ready to get stronger. In 3 words, he asked the female vampire to divorce her directly. Anyway, we are old acquaintances. I will come to see you again in the future. What are you worried about? The old friendship is still there. We all have our own fun. We can touch each other when we have time. Do you know what it means to get together and get away easily? Lisite retreated tactically. Delia didn't take it seriously. She was still the same as the third child, divorced, doing their own things. The old love was still there, but there was no new life. With a cold face, she opened the money bag on the table and counted it. She only counted half of it, chuckled, and finally put down the book. Also started to increase the intensity. I'm just a weak woman. I can't live alone without a husband. You don't want others to know that the famous captain of the black sailboat is getting bigger and bigger as he plays. He even dares to be lucky with a dragon. Drea is an extremely powerful vampire, extremely shrewd and cautious to the point that she has survived to this day. She has an extremely terrifying perception of life energy. She can detect the majestic power even from a long distance without going out. You threaten me? How did you know? Lisite broke through the defense first and directly clamped Delia's wrist and pulled her up from the sofa. Panic suddenly spread in Lisite's mind. He sent it. If his identity was exposed, he would have to hang up in the heavenly port. Those rivals must have started to rob directly. Brother Tianguo Gang, who lives in the castle, is the ultimate macho man. Did it leak somewhere? No. Delia was not angry after being dragged up, but instead had a smile as bright as a flower, and her breathtaking green eyes were full of playfulness and manipulation. In order to discuss Delia, Lisite came over directly without taking a shower in the hotel after getting off the boat, knowing that she had mysophobia. Look, you scare my pirate leader. Unexpectedly, Delia didn't dislike it at all. Why did her husband dislike it? She swept the sweat on Lisite's forehead with her slender white fingers. It's just that I'm special. I don't like all smells. Energy fluctuations are relatively sensitive, so don't worry as long as the nerd on your boat can't see it. Others won't be able to see it either. Okay, we're not afraid. Seeing that Lisite's face was downcast and he didn't say a word, Delia easily broke away from Lisite's hand. I am loyal to you. If a vixen somewhere seduces you, I will not be willing to kill you. Your little lover will only be destroyed by my cruel hands. Delia spread her fingers and trimmed her nails with a file in a bored manner. The body is a shrine to support the soul. Delia has always maintained her appearance when she was 24 years old. Her mentality coincides with her body, and she is still pursuing new things. Her youth has never passed and is always blooming. Lisite also got angry. I know I can't get rid of this crazy woman, but I only recognize the Civil Affairs Bureau and don't recognize the Western continent. But after I collect the Junlin sword, even if I want to open a harem, how should you deal with it? It's really yours. Lisette put his thumb on Delia's lips and wiped it gently. Even though Delia had a high degree of mysophobia, it was a bit unbearable after 3 months of hunger and thirst. She opened her red lips, and the vampire's fangs were revealed. He bit Lisite's finger and sucked the blood. Neither of them knew how many times they had been in this manor. There were even wild things in the woods outside the manor. But Lisite decided to be the wildest one. Delia knows the secret so the only way is to make sure she is safe. He leaned into Dree's ear and whispered, "Since you are loyal to me, I have no choice but to love you and only you for the rest of my life." He even said it in an almost forced tone. Even Delia had never heard of such obscene words of love, and a flush appeared on her iceberg-cold face. Emperor Li Tian and Emperor Delia pushed each other to the edge of the universe, and the avenues were wiped out. Immediately, Li Sight unbuttoned his white shirt and used a knife to draw a thin line on his chest. Blood seeped out evenly. Unstoppable. The 3 virgin blood slaves had already heated the hot water. From the study to the bathroom to all parts of the manor, to the end of the abyss of depravity and madness. In the middle of the trip, List also took a shower, which was indeed much refreshing. In the study room, back to the original position. The next day, early morning, there are men's clothes in Delia's manor, all of which are prepared for List. Her taste is infinitely higher than List. Straight black slim pants, belted leather boots, and a white shirt with an open placket. Knowing that Li Sight was back this time, he also picked a silver necklace pendant as a gift. Delia's complexion is much better than before. Even if she is a vampire, as long as she drinks it normally, her body will still have all normal functions and her skin will have warmth. Li Sight, on the other hand, was a little sluggish. Wearing boots, he felt several times more tired than climbing over mountains and ridges in Wind Breeze Canyon, fighting back to Lavender Town, and then back to Megong. Finally, Delia was made more stable and obedient. Putting on the outfit worn by Drea, he immediately left the realm of pirates and looked a bit like a noble official. "Just keep the one you wore before. I'll let the servants wash it." Delia wrapped herself in her nightgown and put on Lee's top herself. "When did you shave your beard? It's so tasteless." The reason why Li Sight is able to win glory for the country like crazy in North America is that it is not enough to rely solely on his free method. He must also have the ancient holy body and a good appearance to achieve speed in a long pre-mission process. Pass. When Delia first met Li Sight, his beard had not grown so long, less than half an inch, which was really handsome for her age. Since Li Sight never said anything about cosmic beings, Delia only thought that the blood on his body was unique, and perhaps it was some kind of compatibility, so she started to conquer it on her own. What do you know? If a person is not ruthless, he cannot stand firm. It was already early the next morning when Li Sight was about to leave. He had arrived at around 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon, which was really scary. Then you can't grow your hair so long and tie it up in braids. Thinking you're a girl? Dree stroked her beard. "Don't move, eldest sister." After Li Sight put on his clothes, he shook his head and found that they fit him well and were all in his size. "No, I have to shave today," Delia said seriously. "Then you have to kill me first." Li Sight knew that he had sent it, but he didn't dare to take advantage of Gloria. If Delia killed her, it would be a pity for such a beautiful woman. There would be no chance of Heavenly Kingdom port anyway, and he would have to go to sea later to do it again. Catch crabs hard. Suddenly, an idea flashed in Li Sight's mind. "That's right, sister. This kills 2 birds with 1 stone." Li Sight thought that he had been mistaken in his belief that Delia's orientation was normal, just because he and she had been sleeping together. What if something happened? What do you think of celebrity adventurers? Li Sight made a preliminary exploration. What a strange question. Celebrities are just celebrities. Delia was unimpressed. "Really, I will be in Tianwu Port for a long time. I should stay there for a long time. Even if I go to sea, it won't be too long. Don't come here every day to get nervous. You won't even know if you're hacked one day." Li Sight knew that Delia was powerful, but she was made of iron. How many nails could she drive? When Swan defected to Finn, Finn could have just disembarked. But Finn understands this truth. Only those with power can get things done. Only those with I spies, subordinates, resources, and territory they occupy can manage things. People like Finn know that one person is ultimately weak. Not to mention Delia is a woman. When she heard that Li Sight would stay for a long time, Delia smiled. That was pretty much it. Gone. Li Sight has left and has no interest in staying here any longer. Delia lifted up Lizette's sleeve, took a bite on his forearm, sucked it clean, and then wiped the corner of her mouth with her thumb. Okay, get out. Delia fell lazily on the sofa, picked up a popular novel again, and read it. She impatiently extended her hand to Lee's sight, spent the night without mercy, and started PPT. Then these 80 golden dragons will be given to you. Lee's sight took it as overnight payment and started CPU. Delia frowned, but Lee's sight had already left, and he had known that there would be no good in getting a cheap wife. When he left the manor, Delia came to the window and said jokingly, I will keep it for you first. Whenever you are short of money, just come to me. Lee's sight's eyelids were twitching wildly, but he was not in the mood to continue to care. At this moment, an anonymous letter has been forwarded to the Adventurers Guild for storage and will arrive at the east coast of the Principality of Bima through centralized transportation with other goods at a low cost. The Adventurers Guild on the east coast will then assign tasks. If there are adventurous adventurers who are not afraid of trouble, they can take the order and go to Tianguo port to deliver the message. The reward is 3 golden dragons, which is quite generous. Take the reply letter as proof. When the client receives the reply letter, the 3 golden dragons will be officially obtained. Although the process is cumbersome, it is worth trying to earn so much money from running errands. BlackSail has many properties in Tianguo port. The best location among them is a coffee shop. Lee's sight is now starting to focus on the handover in half a month. He must first stabilize Gloria. I'm not very sure about Delia. I don't know if she will be interested in Gloria. That is the final choice. If it works out, then the 3 of them will live happily together. If it doesn't work out, 1 or 2 of them will die. For now, I still place my hopes on the Baron's fiancé, working in Heffen's cafe as the store manager. This place is near a big boss's manor. No one dares to do anything here. It will be regarded as a provocation. The streets in the inner city are quite prosperous, except for the numerous large signboards and various light boxes. Lee's sight came to the cafe, but there were no customers at all. Instead, he saw Run and his fox-eared Isu mistress, holding hands and whispering. They were so numb that they didn't even realize that they were here. Hey, you're here so early. Xiadi happened to be enjoying the free coffee here, and after returning to this island, she was left with a decadent life. Anyway, Lee's sight and Fun were the 2 tall men to think about what would happen in more than 10 days. Lee's sight nodded. Tianguo port is not a place where people work from 9 to 6. Not many people have time to drink handmade coffee. Only non-pirate residents of Tianguo port occasionally come in the afternoon and evening. The coffee is not as satisfying as the wine. The business is miserable and has always been in a state of loss. Lee's sight didn't want to make money. He just wanted to be close to the local boss. So he had an affair with a boss's daughter. This time, I mainly came to see the Baron's fiancée, and I was thinking about matching her with Gloria and settling down with her so that I could get her. The Baron's fiancée is a very intellectual and beautiful person. She has a quiet temperament at first glance, and her facial features are also quite delicate. She has a pretty Leda-like spirit. She wears small glasses and has a hard-on fist. Xiadi was drinking coffee and didn't know what Lee's sight was talking to the store manager. He made the older leftover girl's face red, as if she was about to bleed. You must know that people here in the Western continent can get married at the age of 14 and can even get engaged at the age of 8. Those who are not married at the age of 26 or 7 can definitely be called older leftover girls. Is it really okay? Lee's sight was overjoyed. He gave the store manager a symbolic hug without making any contact, and added, "And you, my friend, are the real heroes." Lee's sight, the plan is to show your face. Noon. High-end, cool-toned fluorite lanterns, a totally unfashionable trash band. Obscene spectators at the bar. What a terrifying pair of gift crabs. Archer drank heavily, and Morrison in a hot dance club. Morrison is also a wonderful person. He doesn't dislike Archer very much, but thinks he is quite interesting. Just like he doesn't use a long sword, Archer can increase the difficulty of social interaction and raise it to the level of hell, causing trouble like a dog. In this way, he will have the opportunity to practice his skills. Morrison is extremely particular and kills people without any problem. How about a golf club? Is he a psychopath? This combination has become a horror story in Paradise Port, and everyone knows it. In short, don't mess with an alcoholic with a disfigured face. You have to take a detour. This hot dance club is considered a relatively high-end place. There are many circular stages set up in the large space. There are cages on the stage to increase the sense of isolation. Dancers are locked up, and they're all performing hot dance performances. These dancers can appear on stage at any time and stay in the VIP room for 15 minutes, emphasizing an assembly line work. When one dancer is vacant, the next dancer will fill her place. It's really scary. Morrison also drank wine and marveled. The business here is completely different from the shop opened by Hay Fan. The seats are packed, and most of them are pirates, but there are also fugitives. The two of them effortlessly occupied the spot with the best view, and everyone in their original seats moved out of the way very consciously. It's big, but I can't compliment the quality. I prefer the bamboo shoot shape. I have to find Mr. Micah. Morrison made an explosive statement. He was thinking that Micah could be called by Shaosheng. He compiled the arms spectrum to list the arms and martial arts rankings of today's Hong Kong fireworks daughter. The most important thing is to have the contact address and charging standards. Morrison would like to call it Death Note. Are you going to get hit by a car while playing this? The bartender who was shocking in front of the two of them was a beautiful woman with long, straight black hair. Her arms were tattooed with various fierce monsters, and her entire arm was full of personality. Bartending is one of the few professions in Tianguo Port where women can earn a high salary. If the place is profitable, sometimes they can even earn about 30 silver coins. Usually they're protected by their boyfriends, so nothing will happen to them. There are also female pirates in Tianguo Port, but the number is very small. You two are from BlackSail, right? I have a friend who happens to be shaped like a bamboo shoot. The bartender was blunt. Is it so awesome? May I ask what the price is? Morrison's conversation was as tricky and unexpected as his killer moves. The bartender smiled and said, "No money. She's the kind of flesh and blood girl. Do you understand what I mean? But she likes the pirates on the bounty list." It's really interesting. Morrison was speechless. Today's #1 brother in Hong Kong is a very well-organized person. Perhaps it is because the recruitment requests to the Principality of Bima have failed several times. No one wants to increase the management cost of such a faraway enclave. Stationing troops is also a huge consumption. The admiral sent here to take office will definitely be slowly corroded. Guarding in the far east, the main trade routes are as high as the mountains and as far away as the emperor, and it is difficult to avoid being corroded. In addition, Tianguo Port can also be regarded as a pirate shelter. This large group of people can't survive at sea. Wouldn't it be even more frightening to come ashore to kill people? So, brother, he had an idea. If you don't grant me an official position, I will grant one myself, right? Founding of the country. Go public first, attract financing, set up defense lines, and engage in publicity. But no one criticized him. He played as soon as the server was opened and left after the server was closed. He didn't make up for a single point, and his main focus was companionship, although Ego failed to found a country. But he is a ruthless character who can review, summarize, iterate versions, and strengthen his playing style. He actually knows how to engage in ideology. In an attempt to subtly change people's views on Paradise Port, they hired a group of intellectuals to write crazy stories praising pirates. They are free, brave, passionate, robbing the rich and giving to the poor, and thieves are also good. Men of the Sea are real men. Published and printed by a Shaowa workshop, the sales volume in the mainland is quite good, and it has been banned repeatedly. Because the Western continent is so large, many people have never seen the sea in their lives and are filled with countless daydreams. However, he failed too. Because of the public executions of pirates, these dirty guys have no good looks in the book. They're just desperados begging for food. Their grins and teeth are filled with inferior metal, and their illusions are directly shattered. In the Hot Dance Club, Morrison also understands that there are the flesh and blood of male bards, the flesh and blood of military knights. The bandits in the mountains all have fruits, and even the fruits for beggars will exist. Anyway, there are no fruits that belong to pirates. The bandits in the mountains were at least stable and had their own vacation villas, so they could beg for food. Once again, Asasai had the advantage. Pirates can't find any advantages. It can be said that they are at the bottom of the contempt chain for women. To put it bluntly, this bartender just wants to find a long-term meal ticket for her friend. How can such a good thing happen? The pirate's flesh and blood girl? Those who get into it will be thrown into the 99 levels of the abyss and will never be reincarnated. But it doesn't matter to Morrison. He is a rich man and can afford the money. Please tell me, this bamboo shoot type. Morrison wasn't done yet. Swan ran in a little panicked. Oh no, I heard from the informant that someone is going to kill Micah. It's the group of people who sold hallucinogens that I met on the street yesterday and are here to seek revenge. Swan said quickly to Morrison. Morrison frowned. How can that be done? Micah is a high-end talent. Although he has no academic qualifications, his cultural level is second only to fun. Those who have become monks on this island are better than doctors, and some even engage in bloodletting and drinking holy water based on the almanac. Micah is simply a dimensionality reduction attack. If such a talent dies, it will be extremely difficult to find someone who can kill and heal people at the same time. Must go immediately, at the same time, in a room on the 3rd floor of a brothel. The prostitutes have been kicked out. Micah was blocked by more than a dozen hallucinogen dealers, all of whom were vicious and led to trouble. I'm really sorry for so many dear friends. I have offended you so many times before. Micah showed weakness and went out without bringing anything with him. He thought he would be safe for a while, but he was lax. There were a lot of people on the island who were desperate for their lives, but he had a plan. Huh, you have become a coward now, haven't you? The people from Heffen are also fleshy. They frightened you into being like that. Let's see how I chop them up. The leader hadn't finished speaking yet. Micah took out a homemade beak mask from his clothes and quickly put on, then threw the glass vial in his pocket with all his strength and smashed it into the leader's face. Immediately, purple-red smoke spread out, containing gaseous neurotoxins made by Micah combined with the glands of flying electric snakes and monsters and anesthetic drugs. The cost is quite high. Generally, they are reluctant to use it. They only use it to save their lives. It can cause damage to the eyes. If you're blind, your muscles will become paralyzed and lose strength in a very short period of time. The leader was the closest. His face exploded. He couldn't speak. His eyes were so sore that he couldn't open them as if they were corroded, and the blood all over his body seemed to be coagulated, and he couldn't move at all. All the next 10 people showed this symptom. I'm sorry. If I want to blame you, it's your lack of education. Knowledge changes destiny. Micah picked up the fruit-peeling knife from the side cabinet, stabbed it neatly into the carotid artery of the leader's neck, penetrated the flesh, stirred it vigorously, and then pulled it out, causing the blood to rush out. The dozen or so people behind could not move. Micah took away the leader's sword like a chicken and cut off all of them one by one. There was a green-skinned orc whose neck was very hard, and Micah chopped it off 7 or 8 times before he was able to chop it off. After a while, the place became like a slaughterhouse, with blood spilling everywhere and heads falling down. When Swan arrived with Morrison, Micah was wearing a beak mask, covered in blood, gasping for air, and all the purple smoke had evaporated. Micah had chopped more than 10 people into pieces on the ground. The bird-beaked war god belongs to Yes. Swan couldn't believe it. He had never seen Micah do anything. He always thought he was a nice guy, even if it was a bit dirty and sentimental. Morrison was speechless. It was a waste of time. The bamboo shoot type was ruined. It hasn't been released yet. Why are the girls I ordered not there? They are all dead. Archer looked at the corpse on the ground and suddenly started crying, tears streaming down his face and snot bubbles coming out of his nose. Morrison told him that the girl he ordered was here, so he followed him. Otherwise, nothing would work. Swan gradually got used to this drunkard with a completely confused head and didn't take it seriously. With Sivan's professional sense, this matter is by no means as simple as seeking revenge. Swan tried to search for clues on the dead bodies and rummaged through all the corpses, but found nothing. He only found 5 golden dragons on the leader. This is a huge amount of money. These gangs of hallucinogen dealers were killed before and became remnants. They're just living here in Tianguaport. There is no way they have so much money. They were ordered by others. Morrison guessed. Swan gave Micah 5 golden dragons, which were considered as trophies. I'm feeling it too. Swan has always been afraid of people from the Thieves Guild coming to his door, but this method is not that of those people. Assassination is about killing one hit and retreating immediately. Before killing people, he will give priority to his own situation. It only pays attention to the concealment of complete stealth, fast and accurate, and the blow that takes life in the dark can be medicine or a knife. Fuck it, give me a shadow. What should I do if I don't dare to come to the brothel in the future? Micah took off his mask and kicked the leader's body hard. It was really bad luck. As expected of Mr. Micah, do you care more about the state of the artifacts than the danger to your life? Morrison's level of horror towards, by Shaosheng and Arm Spectrum has once again been refreshed. Only this person can bear to connect the two characters of the Emperor of Heaven. Immortal clouds rise, the Supreme appears, and where does the majestic dragon coffin go? I don't know the age of the ancient times. Adhere to all laws, follow the way of heaven, travel through the years, and be invincible forever. I don't want to become an immortal. I just want to wait for your return in the brothel. Morrison pinched his chin. He couldn't figure out what was going on. Except for Claude and Swan, who had just arrived, he was the last one to arrive, just over a year, or about 20 months. This matter is unlikely to be related to the dragon or the stone tablet. It is an enemy that Hei Fan has established long ago. The reason why Micah was killed was because he was a doctor and seemed easier to kill than others. He was trying to give BlackSail a head start. Did they touch whose cake was sold by you, Faye, and Crazy Tiger? Morrison asked Micah, and now he can only guess that these two people are obedient to Lee's sight and are separated from BlackSail. Although BlackSail also raised funds to buy the casino, the personnel employment is two different systems. It's impossible. They only do what Lee's sight orders. They were all rescued by Lee's sight from a ship. They work hard for Lee's sight and will never cross the line. Micah answered, My Yufei and Crazy Tiger only listen to Lee's sight, but they are also more convinced of fun, and they have the kind of high opinion of educated people and talented students. That may be the case. Anyway, let's go back to the hotel and ask Fun. Swan made a decision. Before leaving the brothel, Morrison severely tortured the person in charge here, and only returned to the hotel after making sure there was no involvement. Fun, Oaks, and Claude are all extremely cautious people, and they're all saint-like beings. They're not interested in wine or women at all. They only think about how to make money, become bigger and stronger, and achieve great things in their hearts. The three of them have been in the hotel and haven't moved anywhere for fear that something might happen to the dragon lady upstairs. After Micah and the others came back, they told what happened, but Finn didn't look too surprised, as if he had already guessed it. Do you know who sent him? Micah looked at Fun, who was calm and composed, and couldn't help but ask. He was still covered in blood, but the waiters and dark elf bartenders in the bar on the second floor were used to it and didn't take it seriously. This is Heavenly Harbor. If you kill someone, no one will come to arrest you. There is no law. Only gangs, different ships, different pirate groups. I don't know who it was, but I know what caused it. Finn took out a sack from under the table, put on the table, and untied the rope. All the shiny things inside were golden dragons. Micah felt something was wrong. The 1,002 gold dragons paid by the Earl of Linden City have been distributed, and the public funds have also been locked up by Fun. No one can see them except when they need to use them. Micah opened the sack and did a rough count. It was almost 200. Why so much money? Swan realized something was wrong. You guys should know that when Lee's site collects protection fees, he focuses on small profits but quick turnover. Later troubles have also come. The protection fees, which are far lower than the average price, have disrupted the protection fee market. Now almost 1/8 of the people in the outer city, we are all responsible for it. And the only protection fee here is 176 golden dragons, which is for 3 months. Finn closed his eyes and thought hard, try to find the best solution. There are roughly 2 options now. The first is to raise the price immediately so that BlackSail will not become target. The second is to lower it a little more. If anyone is dissatisfied, just come. It's really a new port of heaven. Swan's eyelids twitched. It's up to you to decide. Morrison was only interested in unknown things. What he knew didn't matter. He continued to chat with the dark elf bartender. Who would be a serious person fooling around with a fugitive with low EQ? I prefer the latter, Oak said coldly. Finn shook his head. It's not that simple. The pirates on the island are getting worse and worse. If they can't defeat BlackSail, they will come to kill the people you cover. The person you protected paid protection fees, but the person was killed. How can you convince the public? Who will pay your bills in the future? If everything is handled well, there is a chance for a new Tianguo port. If it is not handled well, BlackSail will soon disappear in Tianguo port. After more than half an hour, Lee's sight arrived belatedly, and he seemed to be in a good mood. Awesome, there are so many people, and Micah is here. It's like the Holy Spirit performed a miracle. Lee's sight went to the bar and asked the dark elf waitress for a glass of wine. He drank it down and felt really comfortable. I saw that the atmosphere in the space was somewhat oppressive and silent. Forehead, Lee's sight had a premonition that something was wrong. Fun told Lee's sight all about the account he received yesterday and what happened just now. Hey, what I think is going on? These bastards on the island are just that capable. One or two of them talk about how ruthless they are. Only when they stand in front of me do they know which one I am. Lee's sight made a prompt decision. Swan, go to fish sales in Feifei's place now, and let the word out first. If anyone dares to touch the people who have paid protection fees to Heifan, threaten them with their legs cut off. Anyone who does so will be chopped into pieces directly. The association's sitting together. Even if the younger brother makes a move, the older one will be killed. Lee's sight's tone was calm, as if he was talking about something innocuous. Claude took a deep breath. He knew that pirates would do many horrible things, but he was far from expecting it to be so horrible. Swan received the order and immediately did it. Also, don't look sad. Everyone should look at me. I'm going to announce something. There's going to be a happy event. Lee's sight started to play gongs and drums, clapped his hands on the bar, and officially acted as a matchmaker, matching the Baron's fiancée to Gloria. Goddamn happy. Fun was speechless. Normally at times like this, Lee's sight wouldn't be serious. Can this really keep Gloria? If someone else is a lesbian, there's a high probability that that means I'm trying to trick you sperm-obsessed people into not harassing her. Xiadi's hobbies are extremely limited and quite popular. They just include that kind of things and drinking. It's just that Xiadi's appearance is quite good, and there are many people who cheat her. Even the daughter of the Lord of the next island knows that there is a handsome pirate and has publicly expressed her willingness to fish him ashore. Logically speaking, Xiadi is what she wants, but the daughter is really not flattering, and her weight is lighter than woman's. Xiadi upholds the spirit of serving the public. There are too many beautiful women entangled on the island. Brother Chung is generally called Little Xiadi. Occasionally, there will be bloodshed among girlfriends, and it is very scary for women to fight. But Xiadi has no choice. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. With such good conditions, it is really a waste of advantages to leave them alone. If you are not in your position, you will not be able to do anything. If you have good looks and can fight, you can benefit the world. Otherwise, I will be ashamed of those lonely women in this world. Xiadi was already drunk and wandering on the rammed earth road in the outer city. Life back on the island is so simple and unpretentious. Entered a hotel owned by my mistress. Not everyone in Tianguo port is a pirate or a fugitive. Otherwise, opening a hotel business would be a dead end. How many businessmen are there who are brave enough to do business? There are still a lot of floating people here, which serve as the mainstay of tourism. The local hotel business is completely supported by the most chaotic profession. There is something called an adventurer in this world. The quality of adventurers varies, and they are divided into two categories. The first type is the pure charlatan type, a great guy who spends his days picking up leaks with a broken sword. 3 or 5 bottles, force 2 punches. My brother can also do martial arts boxing. Keep an account, care about money, play more or less as fate. Showing off scars, serving jail time, smoking, drinking, prostitution, and gambling. Jumping from the 5th floor, you can't fall to death, it's a great feeling for your nerves. In short, the low-level adventurers are always full of all kinds of wonderful people, including gambling brothers, lazy filial sons, and leafless people. Category 2. That's something. It can be regarded as carrying out the spirit of adventure, enough to be called an adventurer. Even in a ghostly place like Tianguo Port, adventurers have settled down. Less than 1/5 of the East China Sea has been explored, and the routes have been built with the lives of several generations. There are a large number of unknown areas, and it is said that there are many secret treasures buried that no one has excavated. It would not be surprising even if another continent is discovered, but there are still few people who embrace this big picture and big ideas. Most of them are for the monsters that live in this sea area. The most valuable magic materials are fished out of the sea, which is extremely difficult. A kind of sea beast called a spotted scale giant whale is full of treasures. If you kill it and fish it out, it can feed an adventure group for several years. The adventurers who dare to come to Tianguo Port to load goods are all ruthless people. The gold-level adventure group started, can afford local consumption, and is not afraid of short-sighted pirates to rob the goods. And the first brother of Tianguo Gang is a very well-organized person. He knows how to weigh the pros and cons and kill the goose to get the eggs. How can we develop sustainably? So he also said that adventurers from out of town who come here to risk their lives to stock up on goods will be covered by him without any charge. There seems to be no cost, but these are better than being desperate and ruthless enough to become pirates because they can draw fresh blood. Besides, when you come here to work, you don't just eat and use your own food. All the business on the island seems to have nothing to do with Brother E, but in terms of the underlying structure, it all passed through his hands. How do pirates make money? Sell the stolen goods to the big three and take money from the big three. How do gangs make money? Collect protection fees, then get bigger and bigger, buy a big ship, become a pirate, continue to rob, and sell the stolen goods to the big three. Where do the raw materials for so many restaurants and bars on the island come from? Wholesale for myself. There is no one largest supplier. Others either don't have the guts or the capital to dominate Tianguo Port and become the #1 brother. Often what really makes people bigger and stronger is not tangible expenses, but intangible expenses. This is called professionalism. Therefore, the ecology of today's Hong Kong is pretty good, even a bit like a small country. Adventurers and pirates are clearly separated, and there are few conflicts. Because pirates also know that adventurers who dare to kill Warcraft and make big money are serious and capable people. If a decent person doesn't want to die, then he is no longer a human being. It's better not to provoke him. One of Siadi's girlfriend groups opened a hotel in the outer city to entertain adventurers. These adventurers are budget-conscious people who are quite economical and do not go to the inner city to spend money. As the business is getting better and better, she thinks that if Brother E starts to open the country now, maybe someone will invest in it, and it will be prosperous. When she saw Siadi coming in drunk, she felt very distressed. She quickly asked the waiter to take over the counter and stepped forward to support Siadi. "Why did you drink so much? I told you to stop being a pirate a long time ago. I can support you." The female boss used to be an adventurer and also hunted sea beasts in Tianguo Port. After discovering the irreplaceability of this area, she went ashore. With the strength of her and a few friends, she did not need anyone to protect her. "Hey, I'm just going to come over and take a look at you." "Okay, let's go." Xiao was walking around the street. He couldn't find anything to do and was so idle. After seeing that there was nothing here, he was ready to open up and go to the next door. "How dare you? If you leave, I will die in front of you." The female boss is madly in love with Xiadi. In fact, Xiadi doesn't have to worry about making a living at all. His girlfriend group on the island can completely support him and live an extremely comfortable life, but that would be too boring. He still wants to go back to Shamu Island and make a big deal out of it. Somerset is the main residence and root of the Dark Elves. Although they are both elves and high elves, their status is very different. Legend has it that due to the wars in the ancient era, a group of high elves fled their homeland and evolved into two branches. One was the Wood Elves, living deep in the forest, and the other was the Dark Elves, who ran to Somerset Island. But the Dark Elves have the lowest status. Because they are on an isolated island, they gradually become suspicious, aggressive, and cold-blooded. They are also called Drow or Dunmare, and their reputation is not very good. The current queen of Somerset Island is even more war-mad and extremely aggressive. She is gradually replacing the wetland Argonians back then and becoming the group with the worst reputation. Xiadi was helped to his seat by the sexy female boss with wheat-colored skin, and she patted him on the back with a look of concern on her face. The adventurers who were drinking in the lobby stared straight-eyed when they saw this. Isn't it too real? This guy is really handsome, and he has despaired of a world that only depends on his face. This drunken pirate can be said to have no charisma, and his face is full of polar opposites. It's boring to start again. I'll just take a stroll. Someone asks you for protection money. Xiadi is also a veteran here, and Hey Fan is also doing similar business, but Lee's site prefers to call it labor fee. Although some gangsters dare not come to collect protection money from their girlfriends, there are several very tyrannical pirate groups in Tianguo port, second only to the top 3. They can be said to be lawless, and they're all violent gangs with a strong reputation in the East China Sea. Local Snake. The female boss bit her lip. He asked me. He cared about me. He had me in his heart. Lee Sight is an extremely scary person. As everyone knows, everywhere you go, there must be people of the same race and nationality, hugging together. The island is no exception. Powerful pirate groups are often fugitives from one country and one race. Even the largest and top pirate groups don't have too many foreign races, and they are all within a controllable range. Due to historical reasons, there have been too many wars, and there are countless old and new hatreds between different races. They are often quite exclusive. Even if they are familiar with each other, there are still barriers. BlackSail is completely different. Whether it's on the ship or on the island, it's a mess. Everyone is there, and it's very tolerant. It doesn't matter where they come from. Just play real and make money together. He is the only one in Tianguo port who can do this. Extremely counterintuitive. Because people are sucked in like this, it is easy to expand quickly, but the faster you suck, the faster it collapses. Often at medium scale, the sky collapses. Not only did BlackSail not collapse, but everyone was assimilated. It was really incredible. It was hard to imagine what Lee Sight's secret was. But there is no secret. Because Lee Sight is a cosmic person from outer space, the historical issues here are none of my business. From the position of leader, I have completely achieved a bowl of water. It is a natural and invisible management method. No matter who you are, what you have done before, or what race you are from, as long as you have made a contribution, you will definitely remember it and reward it, so that people will understand that there is a promotion and continue to work, knowing that this platform is irreplaceable. And sunk costs will give up. Otherwise, just take a shot, change places, and start over again. The new leader may not know what he is. The reason why many companies in Lee Sight's hometown collapsed one after another was because they did not treat employees as normal people with a desire to be promoted, but simply as task tools. When a big job was completed, managers only took credit for themselves. The big seal is so rough on my hand that I can't bear to score it. Who will fight hard? It's all broken and should collapse. Therefore, the pattern is an invisible potential force that can be absent, but when it reaches a certain level and it is not there yet, then send it. BlackSail is a civil violence gang that relies entirely on horizontality. Everyone has meat to eat, so it snowballs and chops up all the vegetarians. And strange phenomena like BlackSail are extremely tolerant, and everyone living on the island can see it. Therefore, some people would rather pay protection fees to BlackSail than to gangs of their own race or country. If something goes wrong, Lee Sight is really here to help you, and he only charges once. There is no free food and drink, and the price is much lower, which is not necessarily the case for his own compatriots. Of course, this is only one of the reasons. What's more important is BlackSail's current position in Tianguo port and its hard power. Therefore, it is inevitable to develop into the current situation. In a hotel in the outer city, several adventurers who had come all the way here to kill sea beasts laughed loudly, and completely lost their minds. People like them were begging for food through wind and rain. People are born with it, and they also give it to beautiful women. The elves are quite a drinkable race. I'm here to take care of your business. Xiadi took out a golden dragon and placed it on the table. I'll buy everyone's drinks here. I'll buy you 10 more rounds. Drink until you feel good. Xiadi was just a little tipsy, not too drunk. A tree has the same skin, and a person has a face. If you don't show off, what's the point? All the guests were convinced. Some cheered, and some became even more depressed. He was handsome, rich, and extremely generous. The answer to the version was yes, which was so unreasonable. The remaining money will be given directly to you, and I won't be able to spend it all. Xiadi added 2 more golden dragons and placed them in the landlady's hand, holding them tightly. The warmth of the dark elf's hand and the physical contact made the landlady feel electric all over. There was also a slight blush on her sexy, wheat-colored cheeks. She thought Xiadi had figured out and stopped entangled with the other vixens. She was here. What matters most is in his heart. But then his face turned cold and serious, and he thought that Xiadi was working hard to make a living, and it was not a good thing to hang out with that Li Sight. Li Sight is one of the well-known figures in Tianghua Port. He seems to be quite kind, has a kind heart, and is well known for his reputation. However, these are just superficial and are his strategies. The landlady has spent a lot of time here. Only those with a discerning eye know how vicious Li Sight is and how terrifying his methods are. From 7 years ago now, he has cut off countless people to get where he is today. Can he be a good person? Don't go back to your pirate group. Just tell Li Sight and stay here, okay? The landlady shook Xiadi's hand and begged, not hoping that Xiadi would never come back one day. This time, more than 3 months was already long enough, and she didn't know how long it would take to die on the streets or to be found floating in the sea. Xiadi was speechless. How many years have I been with Li Sight? How long have I been with you? I was still thinking about making a big name and returning to Somerset Island to visit Boda. Also, is it possible to leave as soon as possible? On the day C1 handed over his certificate, no one could escape. Li Sight had to keep his life if he wanted to be rich. You women know a lot. I know you have been an adventurer, but if you are an adventurer and hang out on the road, is that the same? Xiadi is about to leave, and there is still another family. She earns so much money that she can own the house in the Diocese of Alanya. She doesn't even know how to use it, so she would be happier if she reunited with her girlfriend. Don't leave. I've heard a lot of rumors recently, not only in my store but also in other stores. Basically, every pirate is talking about BlackSails. The landlady was very worried. She didn't mention this before because the BlackSail was powerful and considered safe, but that was no longer the case. Really? What's the matter? Xiadi's wine sobered up a little. Those pirates basically talked while drinking, complaining about their dissatisfaction with their boss, and the money in their hands was getting less and less. It was all because Li Sight had crossed the line. He alone collected almost 1/8 of the money on the island. The price of the protection fee is still low. If this continues, problems will occur sooner or later. They say that the surname of Tianghua Port will soon be Li. The boss's wife's worries are not groundless. Recently, this trend has become more and more intense, and it seems that everyone is joining together to destroy Heffen. Xiadi didn't go back to the BlackSail Hotel today and didn't know about it. The matter of comforting the girlfriend group can come to an end and go back to freshen up first. Li Sight has a lot of things going on right now. Can the Thieves Guild, Dragon, and local territory disputes be able to withstand it? Ziniangwo Port, is it just talk and dreams, or is it hard work? At this time, big news came from the door of the tavern. Fuck, there's someone killing me over there. Every day, people are killing each other, continuing to drink, getting in touch, and being accidentally injured. No, it's one-sided. It's over. We're finishing. Do you want to go over and watch the excitement? That must be seen. Xiadi didn't care about the landlady and went over to join in the fun. On the rammed earth road of the outer city, the person who was killed was none other than Xiadi. He was very familiar with that person. He was a pirate on the ship and held the position of captain. Because of his special appearance, his hair was shaved short on both sides. He had light blonde hair and a scarred iris on his left eye. A one-eyed dragon with a muddy blue color. Okay, that's it. Just chop off the legs. Don't do anything extra. Just follow the arrangements. If no one takes it away, it will wait here to die. Whether it survives depends on God. The one-eyed dragon scolded his men with a cold face, and his majesty could not be questioned. In Linden City, because the interviewees were all old, weak, sick, and disabled, the efficiency was extremely low, so we had to find an agency in the city to recruit people and recruit other pirates who had been organized before. The one-eyed dragon took a machete and finally removed 2 of a man's legs and threw them on the roadside like garbage. His screams were extremely sad and blood flowed profusely. There were 4 people on the ground. 8 of their legs were removed right in the middle of the road. Every onlooker looked at them coldly. They wanted to be as scary as they wanted, but it didn't matter. Just hang up and have fun. It's a paradise with simple folk customs. Hong Kong people drink and watch at the same time. It's time for food and drinks. Found out to be BlackSail's man. Xiadi quickly stepped forward and asked carefully. When One-Eyed Dragon saw the key members coming, he did not hesitate. He was a thoughtful person, very bright in recruiting, and knew the positions of all the key personnel on the ship. On a pirate ship, the backbone does not necessarily have to be a manager. Xiadi has a sinecure, which means that he has a closer relationship with the captain and is more worthy of fawning over. You're here. We've taken care of a little matter here. One-Eyed Dragon is well aware of this opportunity for BlackSail. Now that he has a position, he is considered a cadre, and he has to shoulder the responsibility. The 7 golden dragons will be given to him without extension, and there is even a basic salary. Where can he find this? Xiadi asked about the detailed ins and outs of the matter. It turned out that Li Sight had made the announcement and increased the intensity. Regardless of whether he took action or not, as long as there was a threat of violence, his legs would be chopped off. If you want to suppress the scumbag, you must resort to means. Otherwise, you will tell the desperados on the island the truth, goodness, and beauty. You too are the people who sell Yufei and Crazy Tiger. Xiadi asked the other 2 scar faces aside. Both of them nodded. The men selling Yufei and Crazy Tiger received news that someone here was collecting 2 protection fees. They had already paid them to Heifan, so there was no reason to pay them again. The 2 of them were negotiating with the people from the ice-breaking pirates, and a conflict broke out. It happened that One-Eyed Dragon and his younger brothers were drinking here. When they heard the word Heifan and Li Sight's words, he took the opportunity to help remove these people's legs. I see. I'll just take the money and take my brothers to search for women at night. As the backbone, Xiadi couldn't do anything, so he gave Cyclops 30 silver coins. Thank you. One-Eyed Dragon took the money with both hands politely. These 4 people on the ground. The One-Eyed Dragon looked to see if Xiadi had any other instructions. Don't worry about it. Just do what you have to do. Xiadi put up a hand and sent the One-Eyed Dragon away. The One-Eyed Dragon didn't waste any time and led his younger brother to continue walking freely. He thought it would be best to go back to the hotel and talk about it later. The landlady was even more worried when she saw this bloody scene. The expressions of the 4 people on the ground showed pain and more despair, but they deserved it. They should have thought of this day. With broken limbs and arms, he couldn't survive in the mainland without anyone to care for him, let alone the port of heaven. Now BlackSail is at the forefront of the storm. Li Sight is indeed powerful and ruthless, but no matter how ruthless he is, can he be more ruthless than the one living in the castle? He was also more worried about Xiadi's future. I'll see you again tomorrow. Xiadi said these words to the landlady and walked towards the inner city. The landlady could only remain silent. It would be difficult to change his mind. I'm afraid she could only find a chance to go to Li Sight and ask him to let Xiadi go. The landlady has pure love for Xiadi. Inner city, BlackSail Hotel, the home base of Li Sight and his gang. Li Sight thought about going upstairs to have a showdown with Gloria directly. Hey, I introduce you to a woman. Let's get to know her, okay? No, I'm determined not to do this. It's a fucking chance encounter, and my heart will immediately beat with excitement. Fortunately, the Baron's fiancée is also bisexual. When I heard that he was a famous adventurer, I felt that I was not worthy of it. but if I let her come for one night, I would be happy. Can you stop making such a scary smile? Micah stared at Lee's sight, probably thinking of some evil plan. Start being a lily party today. Old godly sight was saying, this is the word of justice. Here it comes. New vocabulary. Archer, who was drunk, was shocked. What is the lily party? Micah frowned, sounding like a cult. This is the domain of God. Lee Sight's expression was solemn and solemn, as if he was a demon in the holy see. As soon as Xia Di came back, he saw Lee Sight doing abstract work. He was so convinced that he told what happened in the outer city before. Awesome. Morrison was very interested in the ice pirates. It seemed that many people couldn't hold back and were ready to take action. It's okay. I know everything, and I'm under control. I can handle it all by myself, and I can even do two things at once. Now you just need to focus. Lee Sight pointed to the upper floor with his finger. The sky was huge, and the earth was huge, and Dragon Yang was the biggest. Oh, from what Lee Sight said, it should be no problem. Said he also found a place to sit down and sober up. Don't you ask me what I plan to do. Lee Sight was originally planning to talk about the plan. Not interested in. As an old crew member, Xia Di knew that Lee Sight was very shady. This. Lee Sight was speechless. In fact, he had already figured out the urinal nature of the people on the island. He originally had an attitude of providing welfare and received labor fees, just like charity, which was less than half of the market price. He was really trying to protect people. I didn't expect so many to pop up out of nowhere. But the thing is also simple. These lawless bastards on the island are just a ragtag group of people. They use some small tricks to defeat themselves and knock down the protection fee of Tianghua Port. The price does need to be raised, but it cannot be raised now. It can only be raised by a few copper coins to give everyone a little face. Lift it immediately. As soon as others see someone coming to mess with you, they will give in. How can they still mess around in the future? However, the welfare of the villagers cannot be deducted. Lee Sight is a good old man who simply collects public security management fees. After a few days, he will pay 5 copper coins, which will make him worthy of hanging around in Tianghua Harbor and give all his colleagues face. No more. Lee Sight still has a trick up his sleeve. Now that the plate is so big, he is not alone in Tianghua Port. He is also connected with several other more aggressive pirate groups. If I let you part of the profit, or even split it in half, I will directly share the big profit of the plate with you, and earn it directly at no cost. Who wouldn't be tempted? Let's fight together. Which bastard on the island has the courage to continue to act recklessly? In addition, Lee Sight has never cared about this kind of money. He is already a businessman with thousands of gold dragons, and he still hangs out with you guys, pirates who never stop eating? That's not the focus. What we're doing is New Tianghua Port. Hey, Master Xia Di, listen to me. It's really wonderful. Lee Sight could not restrain his overwhelming desire for expression. It's bad. I told you I'm not interested. Xia Di was annoyed and began to close her eyes to rest. Haha, here comes the chicken soup. Long live understanding. Lee Sight was talking nonsense, as if he had lost his mind. Fan found a table and was doing the work of filing information and doing the accounting. But Lee Sight was too noisy and kept making noises from the side, so Fan had to take off her glasses and pinch her eyebrows. Do you still remember what I told you at the Adventurers Guild in Linden City? Fan quickly wrote a few words at the end, completed the work, organized the files, and put them aside, and then put them on the boat. Regardless of whether the new Heavenly Kingdom port is built or not, things have to be done aboard the firm Mac King's Revenge. This ship is the foundation of BlackSails. When desperate, there is still a way out. Of course, Fan will never allow that to happen. Oaks was drinking heavily at the bar. He drank not for the sake of alcohol, but just to replenish water. His drinking capacity was like a bottomless pit, and no one had ever been able to drink more than him. What happened? It's been so long. Who remembers it? Lee Sight glanced out of the window, okay? Immediately, she held the window edge with both hands, and a drop of sweat appeared on her forehead. She told her not to get nervous, and that she had business to do. This crazy woman came holding an umbrella. It was cloudy today, and there was not much sunlight. She could withstand it with an umbrella. Let me ask you, there's no need to be so nervous. Finn also noticed something was wrong. He walked to the window and finally understood. Lee Sight was obviously dressed more elegantly today than before. It seemed that he had a good relationship with the man and his family. But compared to this, not only does Lee Sight have a long-term strategy. I told you at that time that freight trains are already in operation. After their safety and practicality are widely recognized, passenger trains will be put into trial operation. The first few batches of early adopters will definitely be nobles. Of course, the first echelon cannot be moved. We can't afford to offend the trains of the second and third echelons. When they drive to the wilderness, we will rob them, sweep away all the belongings, and then tie them up as meat tickets. Since you're playing big, then I will accompany you to the end. If you want to confront the man in the castle, you need terrible financial resources. 10,000 gold dragons is just the passing line. You must fight against the autumn wind. This opportunity cannot be missed. This is the strongest vote. Of course, it will also make the Black Fan as famous all over the world. TSK. Are you listening? Finn said a lot, but it seemed that Lee Sight didn't pay attention at all. Harm isn't just to fight the autumn wind wilderness. I will accompany you to the golden sands, fly over the mountains, and thunder on the earth. I will also take those illiterate people who have never seen the world to see the scenery of the international metropolis of Erin. Lee Sight focused all his attention on the crazy woman who was coming later, wondering why this lunatic was so crazy. Suddenly, Lee Sight seemed to think of something. Yesterday, Delia seemed to have mentioned that she knew that there were 2 women on board her ship, so she sent it. She completely sent it. The scenery of the metropolis is so awesome to see. We pirates are also very fashionable. Morrison smiled softly. I'm serious. Finn added, it's best to prepare immediately after what happened here. It will take a long time to get to Allen. Finn knew very well that the money he had was not worthy of being touched by the man in the castle. Even if the robbery failed, there was still a way out. As a former member of the Magic Energy Industry Committee, Finn was also a leader in the black market in the Western Continent. You know, he dares to accept 2 gems. General Finn's strategy must be clever. The figure outside the window had already entered the building, and Lee Sight had to find a way to get past him to prevent the woman from going crazy. The first floor of the hotel. The man Lee Sight called Lao Weitu was still wiping the cup unhurriedly, with a warm face and blue eyes, just like what the old man and the sea described. He was happy and unwilling to admit defeat. Lee Sight must be here this time. Delia put away her umbrella and dressed up. After all, she couldn't embarrass her husband when she was out. She wore a white chiffon skirt that fit perfectly a brown buckle belt and fully showed off the advantages of her long legs. She also wore a pair of black long 2 waistbands, wore high boots, and a stylish sun hat decorated with fake flowers. It is indeed here this time, on the second floor. The white-haired middle-aged man betrayed Lee Sight without hesitation. The regular customers in the tavern on the first floor looked back at Delia, and they were all amazed, but they had seen her drink here many times and knew she was a crazy woman. There are many gods on the island who are far away from the center of power, and this woman is one of them. Thank you. Delia had no shame. She acted like a young girl at her age and gave Lao Wei a wink. The middle-aged man smiled awkwardly. It's great. I wish I still had such vitality at such an old age, but I should have been buried for many years by then. Delia trotted all the way up to the second floor. Upon seeing this, Micah had already slipped away and ran to the guest room to sleep, with Archer following closely behind. Swan was confused and quickly followed him and asked Micah in a low voice what was wrong and who the woman was. Hi, stop pushing me, just leave. Micah was afraid he would fucking die later. Swan was confused, but seeing that Finn didn't move, he stayed where he was. The little brother on your boat seems a little afraid of me. Delia chuckled, walked over with great grace, put down her bag, and sat in the nearest seat next to Lee Sight. Didn't I tell you not to come? I'm not afraid of being hacked to death. If you die, I won't help you collect your body. Lee Sight was speechless, sat down, lit a cigarette, and started smoking. Who is this? Claude couldn't understand the current situation, and it was really hard to imagine that such an elegant lady could exist in a poor place like Paradise Port. "You the new guy, right? You're pretty good." Delia glanced at Claude up and down like he was sizing up prey and helped Lee Sight's eyes. Claude felt uncomfortable being stared at. "Well, I have been trained, and I am strong. I am your captain's first wife," Delia said casually. Of course she would not come here idle. She came to check on the police to see if Lee Sight had stolen anyone behind her back. Claude's outlook exploded. It's really unbelievable that a desperado like Lee Sight, who has no title, would have such a wife. It's harmful. What's wrong with getting a wife? The two of us have a fake marriage and live together, but when disaster strikes, we will go our separate ways. One day, I will die on the streets, and you'll be left a widow. Lee Sight doesn't want Delia to interfere with the affairs in BlackSail. Although you are powerful and the city has its own government, women cannot interfere with these matters. Although some ships accept female pirates, I don't do that kind of thing. Claude was speechless. What happened to Lee Sight? Just say, "Yes, I heard. You have a woman here," Delia said calmly. Oakes almost choked while drinking, and he and Morrison went back to the guest room to sleep. Swan saw that Finn didn't move, but he was a little unsure about whether he should leave or not. "What are you going to do?" Lee Sight realized that there was a serious problem, and this crazy woman immediately went to find Gloria and Dragon Yang. "Nothing, just meeting new friends." Delia put on an innocent face. Finn is not afraid of causing trouble at all. He has suffered a lot from Lee Sight, so he needs to be more intense. "We know each other. We must know each other. I will go and bring Miss Gloria down to Madam. As for the other one, it is a little inconvenient, but they are sisters, so one of them will be fine," Finn said calmly. "Really? Then I'll trouble this top student brother." After speaking, Delia stared at Lee Sight thoughtfully with a bright smile. Lee Sight exploded, and General Finn wanted to mutiny. The rooms at BlackSail are divided into 3 categories: Standard Room, Upper Room, Imperial Suite. Having said that, the Emperor's Suite cannot be called very luxurious. Based on the 8-point standard of the Linden City Dreamland Hotel, it only looks like a 6.1. But the environment is also quite pleasant. Under the decoration guidance of Lee Sight, he skillfully used the avant-garde style of hiding light strips on the plaster background wall, focusing on deconstructed postmodern minimalism. The viewing balcony has a wide view, and you can see the chaos of the outer city and the pier. Manic. Under the governance of Brother E, this sinful harbor is also full of vitality, and everything is competing for it, still right before our eyes. Caruso has been trying to figure out the origin of Valrona. He knew that this dragon was rescued from prison by the anti-imperialists in Alanya, but he wanted to know its origin. The dragon's habitat was in a restricted area of the western continent, or an alien celestial body. Dragons are extremely rare. Throughout the past 100 years, there have been no more than 10 that have been exposed to people's vision. The most powerful among them, the adult silver dragon with a wingspan of more than 10 miles, was also killed by the Emperor. As one of the oldest churches in the Western continent, the Church of the Holy Spirit has some ancient books in the library that have been preserved for more than 2,000 years. He once saw in a book called The Origin of the Dragon Clan. The compilation time of this book dates back to the ancient era. The original was protected by a formation seal and had been copied countless times, although part of the description was lost. The way the text is written and the semantic context have changed over the years, but most of the original content can be understood. Dragons can be roughly divided into 3 categories. 1 is the ancient dragon. Before the appearance of the original dead, or even before the birth of life, it already existed in the world. It was more like a mineral or a transcendent existence of some great force than a kind of life. Form is just a manifested image for them. It's more like a godlike creature than a dragon. The dragon of eternity and time is often considered to be the leader of all ancient dragons and the most powerful ancient dragon. This is why the Eternal Sect came about, extending its teachings and forming its own lineage. One is a real dragon. Not only the ancient dragon, but also the existence of the real dragon has now become a myth. In the origin of dragons, real dragons are considered to be the beginning of life. They worship ancient dragons and imitate their immortal will. These wills are also transformed into dragon shapes, possessing different characteristics, divine power, and the ability to penetrate the sky thoroughly. The third type is the literal dragon in today's Western continent. These dragons are not orthodox dragons, but the masterpieces of an extremely terrifying warlock from the ancient era. He appreciated the power of the dragons, studied them, and created dragons that could reproduce, and they were also life in the true sense, and they gradually came into being. In terms of the concept of group, each of the two dragons mentioned above is unique. Although the warlock himself has passed away for unknown reasons, at least according to the book, his masterpieces still roam the world. However, the book, Origin of the Dragon Clan, does not mention the specific screening method. Everything has become a legend. Even Caruso couldn't identify Favna's identity. Even the name Favna was given to her by Gloria. Before that, she had been in a state of ignorance. Think about it and recall it well. Caruso had to figure out that before Favna was transferred to Lostra, if the dragon's habitat could be discovered, it would have a profound impact on the current situation. The eternal sex, uncontrolled expansion is almost reaching the bottom. Although those evil forces are few in number, their inheritance has never been interrupted. They have been inherited from ancient times. The painful miracles and holy Allah, those religious demons are forced to panic, and it is bound to be a catastrophe. Guided by the 13 loving Holy Spirits, the world that can now be called civilized will also be in ruins and must not be blasphemed. I forgot that I was alone all the time. The image of that terrifying dark prison flashed through Favna's mind, and she didn't want to think about it again. You must remember it. You must know it. Caruso's expression has become somewhat aggressive, and it is a helpless move to move her to Los Stella. No other place can provide shelter. Favna crossed her arms, somewhat resisting. Gloria frowned. Caruso let out a long, trembling breath. Since he really couldn't remember it, there was nothing he could do. You must remember that the Emperor is your enemy. He killed your people. His bones are still in the capital of Aram, building the Dragonstone Square. He was beheaded about 20 years ago, and his blood spurted out and dyed the whole place red. City. Caruso wanted to go on. You're crazy. Gloria interrupted Caruso and held Favna's hand tightly. At this time, Caruso's expression was extremely terrifying, like a demon in every sect. This is a fact. With your power, no one can restrain you. Sooner or later, when you fly across the world, all your enemies will be easily destroyed by you. Caruso knows that these are not so easy for people to accept, but after going to Los Stella, those people will definitely support her, and they may lose their true heart, forget their original purpose, and do some meaningless things. For the benefit of Lostra, not the defeat of the Emperor. Only defeating the Emperor and defeating the Eternal Sect is the most important thing. He must implant this idea deeply into the bottom of Favna's mind before she leaves. Gloria looked cold. She had been thinking about whether to take Favna away. The Emperor was indeed a sinful person. He personally started the troubled times, and everything was completely out of control with endless killing and sin. Gloria did initially join this operation with the idea of revenge against the Emperor and was expelled from the Adventurers Guild. Now her thoughts have changed somewhat. It is true that she wants to take revenge on the Emperor, but that person should not be Favna. She has nothing to do with all this. She is just an irrelevant person. The atmosphere in the room was extremely stiff and depressing. Caruso and Gloria were both sullen and silent, and Favna didn't know what to do and didn't want to see them quarreling. The sound of knocking on the door at this time was like the sound of nature's gospel. Favna breathed a sigh of relief. Who? Caruso asked, and Lee Sight did keep his promise and delivered all the food to the door without any interruption or overstepping of boundaries. But he could not relax until the last minute. I am BlackSail's first mate, and I would like to ask Miss Gloria to come down and have a chat. Fun looked calm outside the door, but secretly sneered, looking forward to Lee Sight's expression later. What is it? Gloria seemed to be familiar with Lee Sight, but they were just playing for the occasion. Even if they were acquaintances, they should be on guard against such cold-blooded bandits. It's like this. The first wife of our captain, Lee Sight, wants to get to know you, and make friends. How should I put it? I'm really sorry. Finn said it bluntly, thinking about how they were on the boat before, and Lee's sight had a fist fight and drank with the adventurer. Gloria was shocked, because Lee's sight had told her countless times before that he was a single man who had never held a girl's hand. He didn't know what it was like to be pure and simple. He longed for a sincere relationship. The female Holy Spirit came to save him. Some type of. This man is really good at telling lies. After a long time of sex, he has a wife. What is the situation now? A sensitive woman comes to see a mistress? All right. Gloria thought it was not a big deal, but she felt relieved. It was best to let the sister see Lee's sight's heart clearly, so as not to let this scumbag continue to cause trouble. Shall I take you down for some fresh air? Gloria's mentality changed somewhat, and she asked Favna. No. Caruso refused. It's not up to you. Let's go. If you stay in the room, you'll get sick.